All right, welcome back. You goons know that this is part 2 of The Government is Gay with Aaron Love.
Wow. I saluted
Was
before I
just
knew what I was saluting. You know what I mean? Went hard
It's
in the paint.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
in
you
the
guys.
middle.
Have you seen the Jabaloon show thing where that guy
Oh, yeah.
goes around and he asks people if they're a big fan? That's what this was. You just
Hilarious.
got punked.
I did, yeah.
Ashton Kutcher is outside your house right now.
I grew up watching that shit too. I should know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Poor JT. Free my man JT. He didn't do nothing wrong. He was just trying to party.
I love that show. Dude, you see the Wilmer Valderrama one where he punks Wilmer Valderrama and he about has a fucking heart attack?
Yeah.
That was always classic.
Yeah, hilarious.
I really hope that you bust your Christopher Walken impression out again at some point, because it's actually really fucking good. No shit. That was really good.
It's not, and I'll point you to a video. Like, everybody has a Christopher Walken impression. I actually deployed with a guy that had a better one than I did. His name was Aaron too. He spelled it differently. He's a crow now. That dude had a better Walken impersonation, and he kind of had like power alleys. He had less of a head of hair, so it really worked. Like when we'd been like out in the field for a long time, and he like popped his helmet off. He had this blonde hair because he was just this, Aryan Norse looking white dude. He spelled his name Aran. Like that's how like pure blood like white this dude was. But when his hair was like fluffed up, he just like had these crazy eyes. It's just like and he would just launch into it. But there's a video on YouTube.
Like
yeah, it is. But there's a video on YouTube called The Walking Dead. Hilarious. Yeah, so it's like how everybody gets a virus just in the part of their head that causes them to do Walken impersonations. So everybody's just walking around doing bad impersonations. And at one point it's hilarious because they're like, oh my God, they're improvising. They're not even just doing Walken quotes. Like they just started having more and more obscure waffle. And then one guy was like, my triceratops is fantastic. And everybody's just like, what the fuck? That's not even a Walken quote.
Oh no, they're learning. They can open doors.
A mice fell to a bucket of cream. One mice, he died. Like just stupid.
Like every unit, like every team has that guy that just nails the impressions though.
Yeah.
It's like every group's got to have that dude, like the impressions guy.
That's always one I've never been able to get down very well. I can do like all the like ethnic accents, like you've heard my Scottish, my fucking Indian. I can do all those.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But no, like the characters, for whatever reason, not that good. Not that good. I don't know.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, I know. Sucks to suck. But it doesn't suck is the Constitution.
Hell of a segue.
We're going to talk more about it.
That was
hell of a segue. Very smooth, man. Single shot to the engine block. Very smooth.
All right, man. So we're talking about the Fifth. We left off with the Fourth. Fifth Amendment. People are pretty familiar with the Fifth Amendment already just because of cops. You know what I mean?
They better be.
Everybody's familiar with your Miranda rights. I'm gonna go. This is like my fucking area of expertise if I ever had one, I guess, because I voluntarily signed up for security forces and I wound up there and did some things and so I can kind of talk about that stuff now. But the Fifth Amendment, everybody knows about it because everybody says, oh, you have a right to remain silent, which means you don't have to say anything when you're being interrogated by the police, right? Wrong. So you guys know, this is a common misconception, okay?
Wow.
So I'm going to point you guys.
You're just going to start off with it just right away, wrong?
I am, man.
Oh, boy. Okay. Listen, here we go.
What you thought you knew, you didn't know, right?
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. All right. So a long time ago, back in the 80s, there's a pretty popular case called Salinas versus Texas. Essentially, a gentleman, last name Salinas, went to a party with some other friends of his. The next day, those two friends were found dead. The police found some shotgun shells in that apartment, and they went and talked to Salinas about it. In the course of their conversation that Salinas had voluntarily with the police, they found out that his dad owned a shotgun. So they went and got a warrant for that shotgun. Brought in Salinas again, inquired about whether or not those shells were going to match the barrel of that shotgun. In which case, Salinas got really quiet and didn't say anything else to the police officers. And when he went on trial, that silence was used against him to say that an innocent person would admit that or say that they did not, in fact, shoot and kill two people with a shotgun. And his silence was taken as implied guilt. So that case went to appeals, where they said essentially that he should have the Fifth Amendment right to not say anything to the police, and that it doesn't mean that he's guilty. But that's not actually what that means. And there's a loophole here that most people don't realize. When you're going to be silenced with the police, so if you're getting asked, let's say a real scenario, you get pulled over by the cops, you don't want to talk to them. If you just remain silent completely and totally, you've been Mirandized, they've read you your rights, etc. You must use the language. You are invoking your Fifth Amendment right, that is to say nothing at all, and I will not be answering any further questions. Otherwise, that Fifth Amendment right does not cover you. And technically, the Supreme Court ruled on this case, inevitably, a 5-4 ruling. Judge Alito stated that essentially the reason why it doesn't cover you is because the Constitution, when it mentions that language, only means if the government is bringing forth prosecution against you, and it does not technically fall under the purview of police officers asking you questions in the performance of their duty. A lot of people don't understand that, and that's pretty interesting because up until I learned that, I thought that was the same thing, that if I was read my rights, I don't have to say anything because you've now Mirandized me, and I've said, I'm not saying anything to you. I don't have to. But unless you use that language, you are not covered under those protections. And a lawyer would tell you the same thing. If you ever get pulled over by a cop, this is my advice to you. Say to them, if you don't want to talk to them, that I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment rights as a citizen of the United States of America, and I will not be answering further questions. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, and that's unfortunate. But that's the reality. It's not in your favor. But you guys didn't know that either, did you?
Now I'm chewing on it for just a second. I don't have like a quicker Woody comeback by any means.
I have violated that. I don't know how many times. Like if that is it, I hope there's a statute of limitations on this, because I'll tell you what, the number one thing that I do at every single like my views on police are well known, man. Right? Like you can have two thoughts in your head. You can hate an entire system and like the individuals that do it. I have friends that are cops that work at different federal law enforcement agencies, and I make the joke with them. I'm like, well, I hate you until you get done doing this thing, because I really disagree with the fundamental thing that you're doing right here. But I hope and think that you're a good person and you're making it the best, Yeah. So I would never hate the person that does it, but I'll tell you what, I just like the organizations at some point, I think for good reason. But, all that to say, I have never talked to a single law enforcement agent for any time at all. It burned me one time when I was really young, like 15 or 16. And for whatever reason, it just clicked with me. Every single time I'm just like, nah. Like I will just stare off into space and not talk to anybody or anything, and just do it. Be like, yeah, like I guarantee it's caused me more harm than it has good. I guarantee it's probably a net negative, because there are cops that are just like, what are you doing? Usually my answer is, I'm not here to answer questions about my night. What do you want? Like usually that's how I open a conversation. Like if you're coming up to me and people are like, oh, wow, you're being a dick.
That Marshawn Lynch status. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Well, and people, man, it makes me upset, because people will look at me. They'll be like, oh, how can you be like that? That guy's just doing his job. They're like, no, that guy's got a gun. That guy's allowed to get into a fucking pistol fight with me out in this fucking front yard, and he'll get cleared. So let's
man, that dude.
So let's not talk about it.
Badge on his shoulder is not executioner, is not prosecutor, is not the law. Is just a representative, somebody who's supposed to be working for you, just like politicians are. Yep. They're not God. And listen, as a cop, I've had to make split-second decisions that would meant the difference between me and somebody else's life, legitimately, and it's a tough job. But at the end of the day, you see these videos a lot recently of these fucking FBI agents going around to people's houses and asking them bullshit questions. Those are law enforcement officers too. These are the people, these are the brown shirts, these are the Gestapo, like we said last time, that'll haul your ass off to jail, turn your neighbor in, all that shit.
Oh, right. And I got an even better one. I got a real world story, and it happened on base.
Please dive in.
I'm going to blow this one up, and it's about how, let's keep me on track here. It's about how I probably caused myself a little more harm than good, but it did come in a pretty big law enforcement injustice. So,
okay.
We get done with the night of shooting on the range at Nellis. We're getting ready to leave. We lock everything up. We bounce out. As I leave, I'm like one of the last people out. There's me and the officer that are there, this young lieutenant. He lived closer. He's like, hey, get out of here. He's like, that way you'll be able to get out and at least get home, I think before like 2 o'clock in the morning or something. He's like, I'm right here. So I was like, all right, tight. So I leave. And there's this very distinctive, like you get out on area 2, and there's this very distinctive, like sharp bend that goes to this very long straight road that goes right before you turn right and then go all the way around the flight line to get back to main side of base. So I'm on that road. Okay. I'm not speeding, and 2 cars just start flying by, and then they throw their lights on. So I was like, oh, well, that's crazy. One of them like flies past me. The other one got heavy on their brakes and was almost at a stop. When I passed them doing like 35 or 40, they whip around. I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like, okay, tight. So I just pulled over. So I get out of my car, or I sit in my car, and it's I had a Mini Cooper at the time, by the way, so no big deal. Yeah, I wasn't always
a British
cool.
car for somebody. Aaron loves America. Interesting.
Oh my goodness, I don't want to talk about it. I was going through. I was listening to EDM at the time too. It was a whole phase.
This is a Pride Month.
He was going through he was going through his Italian job phase. Dude.
I really was. Yeah.
It's like I was really into Moby at the time.
I loved like, man, Jason Statham just was my dude. That movie really, really spoke to me in a way that not a lot of movies did. So I pulled over, and I was just like, whatever. So pull up to the car. The female officer like walks up to the car, and she was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And immediately I was just like, "Why did you pull me over?" So she kind of like, she was like, "Hey, calm down." And I was like, "Why did you pull me over?" And she was like, "Where were you going?" I was like, "I'm not here to talk about my night. Why did you pull me over?" Right. So immediately she starts getting pissed off. She's like, "You need to get out of your car." And I was like, "Hey, you need to watch your mouth." I was like, "I don't know who you're talking to." I was like, "You pulled me over. You haven't stated a reason. And now you're getting angry." So her partner starts walking up to the car. She was like, "You need to get out of the car." And I was like, "Fine, but you need to back up," because she was standing by the door. So she gets out. I put my hands out the door. I stand. I'm in like a training uniform. I've got like my cry pants with the stupid knee pads in them. It's obvious that I'm like, I have a t-shirt on. Yeah, I have a t-shirt on. There's no problem. Like it's, I'm obviously going home from a day of work. I'm covered in crap of the day.
Yeah.
So
you smell like gunshot residue.
She's like, put your hands up. I was like, no.
The dog's going nuts in the back of the car.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, the dog can't wait. I'm gonna bite this guy's arm off. Nope. So I was like, no, I'm not going to. I was like, I'll show you my pumps. Look, I was like, I don't have anything. I even lifted my shirt up. I was like, here. I was like, I'll stand here. This is nonsense. So I was like, you need to call somebody. So the other car comes back. The officer dude who was like a staff sergeant gets out, and he starts walking up to me. I just stood there. So maybe 5 minutes elapses out in the beautiful desert of Nevada. It was gorgeous. But she tried to talk to me a couple times. I just like completely ignored her. I told her I wasn't going to talk to her until the sergeant showed up. So finally he shows up and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And I was like, "Hey, here's the deal." She pulls me over, won't state her cause. I get out of the car. At one point she had looked into the car. She was like, "Hey, do you mind if I search in your car?" And my window was open, and she started to reach in my car. I was like, "Hey, I didn't say that was okay to do. You're not allowed to search my car. I'm not consenting to a search right now." Mm-hmm. She was like, "Well, your window was open. I was just looking for weapons." I was like, "Absolutely not. That's bullshit." So sure enough, the guy
can look.
You can look. You can't grab in.
You can't touch.
Yeah.
That's like when I go to the store, I get told that all the time.
Right. So the other dude shows up and he's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Well, here's what's going on." I just kind of gave him a quick rundown. I was like, "She still hasn't told me why it is she pulled me over." And he was like, "Oh, Jesus." He was like, "Hey, man, the alarm was going off at the 58th. Are you Aaron?" And I was like, "Yeah." Did Chris set the alarm wrong on the door? And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, had she asked me one time, I would have told her. I was like, one time I was the freaking troop chief at the time. I was like, this would have been the easiest interaction. "Hey, I'm sorry I pulled you over. We got a notice about an alarm. What are you doing in the area right now?" "Oh, notice with the alarm where?" "Oh, at the 58th. Okay, that's my spot. Let's go." That's what that would have been for real.
"Oh, are you Aaron? Can I see your CAC real quick?" "All right, see you later."
Here, I'll go back with you. It's my boy set the wrong, my LT hit the alarm code wrong. I'll go back before he got to call in the academy. But, it's those sort of things. It's those sort of interactions where you're like, was I a dick? Yeah, probably. I'm not the guy that goes to the fucking checkpoints near the border and goes, "Am I being detained? Am I being detained?" for like 45 minutes.
You're not a First Amendment auditor?
No? Jesus Christ. We pull in, he looks at like
I'm not touching you.
Oh my God. You pull into those things. Do I think it's an unconstitutional stop? Yes, 100% I do. There's absolutely no reason for them to pull you over. They don't have probable cause. It's blatantly against your right to free movement inside of these United States of America. It just 100% is. But I roll through it. I roll my window down. I look at the dude. I'm like, "What's up?" Usually he looks at me. He's like, "Have a nice day." I'm like, "Get out of here." Like, I guess if they make it an issue, I guess it will be. But it was one of those times where I was just like, no, I got plenty of time today. Like, and I'm not going to play these games.
Good for you, man. She has to tell you why she pulls you over. So,
it's the simplest
if there's an alarm, if there's an alarm, she's totally well within her right to pull you over because you left the area. But then say, 100%. "Hey, this is what's going on. Are you Aaron? Yeah. Can I see your CAC real quick to verify that? Yes. See you later."
Yeah.
That's it, dude.
Even if
easy peasy lemon squeezy, dog.
Well, and it's funny too from your standpoint of the story, cops, she only made her life that much more like difficult.
Yeah,
from her
she got briefed
by being a little tyrant at her level. That's all it is, because it's like people get like a little bit of power and then
with an attitude.
Which I have a funny story about that. I was at Goodfellow Air Force Base actually.
Beautiful.
And, And so it's pretty funny because it's like, for those people that have been there, you can stand at the one gate and you can see the other gate. There's only two main gates on Goodfellow Air Force Base, and it's so tiny you can stand at the run. In fact, they used to do the gate to gate run.
Oh,
like used to be a thing that we would do, but they would have to like add a loop out to the flight line and then back around, because if you ran from, I think it's like a half a mile from gate to gate, you could just like, all right, later, going home for the day. But I was in my car. I was driving. I had my wife in the car, and we turned off the street onto, like, made a right-hand turn, and the MP gets in. Like, I saw him drive into the BX parking lot because it's the Air Force Base.
Get it right.
And then, yeah, I know, right?
Put some respect on our name. You know we got
Put
better
some
food than
respect.
y'all too, and we don't call
I
it
might
trade
have
shit
one.
like the Navy. We don't say, "Oh,
I
get
might
your key duck over here at the hat." Ah, shut up. You're not on a boat.
The quarterdeck.
Show up to the quarterdeck. It's a dorm room, bro. You're not
Yeah.
fooling
Wash your
anybody.
hands before you enter the galley.
Well, excuse me, I can't believe it. If you have a cover on, you owe everybody a beer. Dig, 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 dig. Listen, I don't care about your little beige shirt. It doesn't matter. I'm kidding.
Suck
I
each
got
other's
100%.
dick.
But,
wow.
It's you said it's a Navy joke.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay par for course.
I do actually have a funny Navy joke. Why does the Navy use powdered soap? It takes a lot longer to pick up.
Oh God. Delicious.
Solid.
It is solid.
So, no, it was not, which is what made it funny. But
True.
yeah.
Right. Powdered.
Anyway, I saw this dude like whip into the BX parking lot and pull a Yui, and then pull back in and around behind me. I wasn't thinking anything about it at the time, because I was like, I looked at my speed and everything, and I'm doing good. And he pulls in behind me, doesn't put his lights on or anything. So I come to the stop sign, put my blinker on, turn right, start heading out the gate. He turns right, he starts heading out the gate with me. I'm like, okay, I don't know where this MP's going. We get outside of the gate, and all of a sudden, whoop whoop. And I'm like, this dude followed me around the corner. And so now I'm like, what in the world? And so like, it's sitting there. And you understand why I pulled you over? And I said, I really don't.
Don't answer that.
Like, well,
Never answer that.
Actually,
For real, bro.
thinking back to it, like we went right, and my wife goes, "Oh, you're not wearing your seatbelt." And I went, "Oh, that's a really good point." And so I reached up and I just clicked it in as we were going out the gate. And I was like, "Okay." And that's when
Likely
he went.
story, you
That's
piece
when he
of
went.
shit.
Whoop, whoop,
You-
and right, and
this
so he
is
got me. He pulled me over. Because that's when he goes. He walks.
you
up to-
liar.
He walks up to the window, right? And do you know why I pulled you over? And I looked at him and I said, "No, I really don't." And then this dude, I was an E3 at the time. I think this dude was like an E3 or an E4. And he just straight in front of my wife, he just goes, "Okay, why don't you go ahead and step out of the vehicle?" And I'm like, I don't really.
I mean, I prefer not to.
Really confused at this point. And that's what I said. And he goes, "Get out of the vehicle now." And I'm like, holy cow, man. All right. So I get out of the vehicle. This dude puts me at parade rest so that he can dress me down and tell me all about how, like, you saw me get behind you, then you proceeded to try to exit the base and then put your seatbelt on. I watched you. And I said, I'm like, I
Your
really
lights
don't
weren't on?
understand why your lights weren't
Where's
on.
the
You weren't pulling me
demarcation line
over.
for base property? Why are you off base?
I was like, what? I am genuinely confused right now. He was like, and then I will never forget. He goes, basically, he told me to not confuse my rank
Oh,
for
his
his
rank with his
authority.
authority.
They teach him that at tech
They
school.
teach it- dude. I was just about to say
Okay,
it's not even
I was
an
gonna say that was the
exaggeration, Aaron.
first
They
time.
really
That was
do.
the first time in my military career that I'd heard that statement.
That's the
before.
truth, dude.
Can't
And
wait.
then-
You put
and
that
then he
badge
goes-
on, baby. You outrank everybody. They don't get
If
to
I
talk
just-
to
Tell
you
the
like
base
that.
commander to go
Right.
fuck himself. It'll
Yeah,
work out.
right in his mouth.
Basically, he told
in his
me. Basically, he told me like,
Damn, that sounded a little too good, dog.
Dang.
yeah, it's a lot
Damn.
of
Hashtag Pride Month.
well,
Damn. Let me get my
yeah,
shit
it's-
down.
It's been a long, it's
LGBTQ.
been a long Pride Month. Let me ask you something, Brandon. 100 dicks on the wall. How many you choke on, dude?
0.
Yeah, you're a pro, dog.
Yeah, but
So-
that's pretty good, man.
There's no
I got
way out of
skilled.
it.
But yeah,
There's no way
I
out.
never.
There's no way.
You push
I'll
back,
never
you
forget
push back,
him.
or
Kobayashi
Yeah.
Maru, you know?
it is,
Right,
yes,
that's right.
yeah.
But
Classic
I'll never
reference.
forget him doing that and then telling me like if I would have spoken with more respect to him, then he wouldn't have had me locked up at parade rest in front of my wife, like yelling at me. And I was like, dude, this guy.
Dude, you should just hit it with the "What's
This
respect
guy.
got to do with it."
Yeah.
Hit him with that, dude. He probably had his fucking dick duct taped to his leg so you couldn't see his erection, man. What a fucking loser.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of this. Is this like inside cop lingo? I don't even know. The
Yeah.
worst part is that we in the military have magic phrases that can like a spell will hold you in place. Like that guy told you to stand at parade rest. He wanted you to do a specific
Dude.
thing with your bones. And then he knew if you were like, slacking off, he'd be like, you come to a crisp parade rest. You get those
Right.
hands together, buddy.
Bro,
It's the most
an
ridiculous
Army
shit.
parade rest looks different than Air Force parade rest, so he
I
was
wouldn't
probably
care
extra
about fucking
impressed.
either one of them. That's the fucking dumbest shit of all time. Like, I get standing at attention for uniformity inside a drill and ceremony and shit. Come the fuck on, man. It is like when you look at it out of context, right? Like it's a handy It's a handy thing in logical discourse. You purposely take something out of context and just look at it for what it is. And then if you try to explain that to somebody out of context, it's even harder. Like, you mean to tell me that in a fighting force where your primary mission is to kill people and break their shit, occasionally you put on fancy clothes and you move your body in coordinated ways when people say special phrases and you're supposed to be like patriot, like you're supposed to have like a dose of patriotism from that,
Right.
and you're like, oh yeah, totally. And they're like, no way that works. We're like, I don't know. I heard some medals get read out a couple of times that were pretty badass, guys that killed like hundreds of people, and I was pretty drunk afterwards and I was pretty motivated by it. So I don't know, it does work at some level.
Popped a few salutes.
I say, hey man, there was a couple dudes in there that fucking, busy, like 40 dudes, some Apache pilots that we were out at the same time they were, and we heard them just absolutely decimate an entire village, and it was all good shoots. They were all shitheads. They just fucking burned it to the ground. Like, all right, yeah, cool, man. Yeah, we'll see you back at the house. Good job, guys. Shit, sucks to be them. Anyway, USA, fuck you.
They chose.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the hardest thing is that those people, that they have this power, they wield this authority, and that's why, in my opinion, you have to push back on them, because we're talking about the Fifth Amendment for people not fucking with you. And this is one of those things where you finally, and again, I try to put this out there all the time, and I thought I was clear about it in the first one, but the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is two things. Number one, it's fucking badass and it's all you need. And number two, it's a list of shit the government isn't allowed to do to you. It's a list of stuff that they made, no kidding, to make sure the government cannot do that. And the fifth says you're not allowed to incriminate yourself. You're allowed to remain silent as long as you exercise your rights, like Brandon was talking about earlier. The other thing is due process. There's due process and substantive due process. Right. Which are slightly different. It's the due process principle that the Fifth and the 14th Amendments are protect fundamental rights from government interference, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The government, without due process, can't just take away your life or your liberty. You could be accused of a crime. If they don't have credible evidence, they can't put you in jail for awaiting your trial. They can't put you in for a certain amount of time. Like, I know the thing that pops to mind, because the overarching thread of this thing is why trust government institutions. And we're supposed to be making a case here. Let's bring up a little something called the Patriot Act. That was one of the biggest missteps, the biggest overreaches of constitutional authority for due process that we've ever seen. Ever seen. On it. Yeah, just absolutely. Yeah, and we just did it in people's faces. It was like, oh, tight. Hey, you guys don't want another 9/11? All right, well, we're going to surveil you, but we're also going to need to keep you without due process. It's, let's say you pop up on a list or two and we nab you at an airport. I don't know. It kind of takes 12 or 14 hours just to get to the extradition site. And then we got to in-process you. You know how it goes. So they just basically fucked that all up with the Patriot Act. And they just completely ignored due process.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest subversion of American rights to have ever happened.
Outside of maybe what's going to happen with the COVID lockdowns and what bricks that has led to where it is that we may be going. I'm so black-pilled. I'm like, I can't wait to see what's worse in the future. Yeah.
I mean, they did throw Japanese people in internment camps, Japanese Americans in internment camps.
Oh my goodness. Shout out.
But yeah.
Shout out to Cali. Everything always
But I mean,
bad
isn't it funny that
Yeah.
in those last several examples that you guys just threw out, isn't it amazing how if you make people scared enough, right?
Yeah.
And they start begging. They start begging, please,
for safety,
take away their constitutional rights, because those ones are they scare me. So it's like whether it's the Japanese Americans during World War II, whether it's the COVID lockdowns, because that whole thing was predicated on the fact of well, no, it's we've got to put or keep people in their homes because it's the elderly. You're killing grandma if you go out without your mask on and without your. So it's like, hey, take away their rights because they scare me, and I want that they should be locked in their house and not able to go anywhere or do anything, right?
What's crazy is how the Patriot Act people turned on each other, man.
9/11, right?
During COVID.
Oh yeah,
bro. They had literal hotlines where I was in Germany to turn people in for fucking leaving the Palatinate or the state that we were in, or fucking going outside. There were literal curfew hours we had to follow. As somehow that, fucking COVID stopped at 10 p.m. or some stupid shit, or walking across the room at a restaurant. COVID only existed above 5'5". Once you sat down and started eating, I flew a lot during COVID. Apparently it only existed on planes when we weren't eating meals.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of weird science that I trusted.
Just the most ridiculous. Looking back on it, you're just like, I can't I just can't believe the nonsense that we went through. You're right. And I can't believe we allowed the window, that little line in the sand. I can't believe we allowed it to get moved that far. Hilarious. Like we were at the airport, and one of my boys, we had to wear a mask. It was 5 troop, so best troop that ST has ever seen. 5 troop. We were back from a TDY or something. We were in the airport. It was SeaTac, so of course, like land of the liberal. And my boy has on dude, it's terrible. So my boy had on a Trump mask, so it wasn't like a mask of his face. It was just one of the dumb travel COVID masks that you had to wear, and it just said like Trump 2020 on it or something. This lady, we were at the very end, like SeaTac's airport is set up a little bit weird. There's like main baggage area, then there's a smaller one, and then on the end is where all the oversized bags kick out. So we had to go get all of our oversized bags. We're all the way down away from everybody. And this chick took time out of her day to walk down and be like, I saw that you had that mask. I don't think that's funny. I lost somebody to COVID. And my boy just like totally unfazed just goes, you lost him. Did you ever find him? And like just literally, I was like, I literally looked at everybody and I was like, hey, y'all got to go. I was like, we were just trying to mind our own business. And he invaded her, or she invaded his space. And he was just like, nah, I choose violence today. And he was like, lost him.
Did they have any burn cream?
Dude, I was dumbfounded by it. Absolutely hilarious. I was like, great job, my bit to think on. I was like, did you have that prepared? Did you think on your feet? He's like, I heard it before. I've been waiting to work it in. All right, dude.
Did you guys see the story that Terminal CWO dropped? This was like height of COVID, but he busted United States Army general level officers that were using their SIGINT assets to one, not only target people inside the United States, big no, not allowed to do that. We don't like that. Two, United States citizens inside of the United States. And he was using it to track whether or not soldiers were like going into the PX or like where his soldiers were going and stuff.
Bro,
did you guys remember that story coming out?
And you know what's funny is there were so many of those. You're like, oh, which one was that? You have to sift through the insane shit that was happening.
Dude, I had people tell me that they had commanders and shit wanting people to drop their location into group chats and shit like that. Like, fuck you, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I will.
Do you remember the fucking
story about that?
Well, I want to hear that first before I ask you guys this question.
There was a guy that I know of that said he was going to take some leave, but it was during the time of COVID, so he's going to take some leave in the local area, and then he was going to need to quarantine and then be back at work. So he was like, he just kind of built that into the leave that he was taking. So he's like, well, I'm gonna have to quarantine for I think it was like 10 days at that point or some dumb shit. So getting leave approved was crazy. But he's like, nah, it's worth it. He's like, so he just built that 10 days of leave and he was deployed. He's like, what's the difference? He's like, I'll just go back to work tomorrow. So the commander gets everybody on this stupid platform, this like little face chat thing that we were using. And he tells everybody, he's like, hey, so I want to tell you guys, I gave a unit member an Article 15 for not being where he was supposed to be on leave. And here, I want you guys to understand this. That guy was on that call. So he sat there at another location listening to the commander telling him about how he just punished somebody with an Article 15 for not being at the location he was supposed to be during COVID.
That's hilarious.
Hilarious. Well, that was probably one of the funnier conversations I've ever had in my entire life. Just hilarious. Anyway, go on.
That guy didn't choose the thug life. The thug life chose him.
Is what it is.
Tattooed across his stomach, dude. Tupac style, dog.
Nothing to say about it. I learned about it far after, anybody could do anything about it and far after it mattered. I'll say that much.
Statute of limitations for the win again.
Yeah, count it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Pleading the fifth. Nah, man. Do you guys remember the fucking articles that came out that said that the right wing events for like Trump rallies and shit were super spreader events, but the events for Biden weren't because it had more immigrants and shit like that?
The riots. That was the summer of love.
They would
say
super spreaders. Yeah, not at all, dude. Trump, just free shit and fire starting skills. That's it, dude.
Trump having dinner. Trump having dinner on the White House lawn, on the Rose Garden lawn, was a super spreader event. But when they burned Minneapolis to the ground, when they burned Minneapolis to the ground, they were like, well, yeah, but typically a lot of people at these things are wearing masks, to hide their identity as they loot and burn things to the ground and do $2.2 billion worth of damage.
Well, New York is back on. You are not allowed to wear masks on the subway anymore.
Here we go. How far? Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have the National Guard in your subway, you can make up rules like that.
You guys remember when Trump caught COVID And it was like everybody was
yeah.
like, "Oh, I hope he
yes.
dies," and they were saying some like terrible.
Dude.
And then he comes back and he's like, "Actually, I'm fine." You know, and he
Back
walks
in 3 days, and I was back to tweeting. No
He's
big
like-
deal. Everybody
like-
makes it up. Had some fantastic doctors. Remdesivir, so good.
Yeah, I didn't catch COVID. COVID caught Trump. He's like,
Oh my, yeah.
He walks back out on the second story of the White House, and he walked out there and just took the mask off in front of everybody, and they all
Right,
lost
dude.
their mind. Do you remember that? And they were just like, "How could he do that? That's such a terrible example to set." They just like, oh, everybody was crying, and I was laughing. I was like, that is hilarious. Like,
Dude, but the fucking media and the way that they lied to everybody. You remember that Rogan thing where they showed that video of him and they like
Oh, yeah.
literally changed the pigment of his skin and
They
shit.
changed the filter. They caught him.
Right.
Joe Rogan's like, why did you? The side by side was absolutely disgusting. When you look at the side by side of what they made him look like, you're just like, wow, that's
Yeah.
just obviously fake. Snopes just recently had to come off. Speaking of misinformation and having to correct stuff that they've pounded into our heads. Snopes finally had to admit that the very nice people on both sides was not the way that they portrayed it. They said that it was completely false.
Really?
So they're talking about the Trump speech where they asked him about it was midstream of like 8 different questions. And he was like, hey, there are fine people on both sides. He was talking about the debate on whether to have statues of people in the Civil War, specifically generals, or not. Like, is that part of our history? Is that something we should have? He was talking about the discussion over the fucking thing, but people plastered it onto the alt-right fake ass Fed Boy Glow rally that happened with their little tiki torches and shit. So people were like, oh, there's fine people on both sides of white supremacism. And then they did this thing where they were like, oh, denounce white supremacism. He's like, fine, I denounce it wholly and in part. And
so
all of
many
it.
times too,
like 17 times or 27 times or something. There's a supercut where he does it within a year. And it was like 17 times. So it's just, it was absolute and total nonsense. But Snopes finally had to go back and be like, that is not what he said. That was taken out of context. This is false. That was not him saying there were fine
years
people on
later,
both sides.
right?
And now
it doesn't matter.
Again, it's very interesting timing because that was President Biden stated that hoax, exactly what you're talking about, was the thing that led him to start his presidential campaign in 2020. So it's very interesting that
in that the ad campaign, he was like, I'm running for the heart of the nation, so Charlottesville doesn't happen again, so that people say, there's not very. He even quoted it. He either showed Trump saying it or he said it directly for the soul of the nation.
So very interesting that right before he's getting ready to do this debate on Thursday, which I will absolutely be watching. This is going to be one for
the Julian Assange thing
for sure. But that happens, and then Snopes comes out, and it's like you almost got to wonder if that's not them playing, I guess, bumper cars for him. Because it's like, if we don't say something, then he's going to go out and he's going to use that talking point again because he said it 30 or 40 times. And so
there's not altruistic motives going on.
This is like their like dog whistle for like, hey, don't.
Well, and if you look, they're already doing it.
Point.
They're doing it across everywhere, right? So the Biden, the narrative that Joe Biden has to live down is that he's just supposed to be this old daughter, old
Uncle
Joe, Scranton Joe, he's just the coolest. Whatever. That's completely fallen apart. His family is completely and totally bereft of any morals. They've made buckets of cash from everywhere, from Ukraine to China. We've got every text message of the Bidens are the only people with no jobs, 35 separate shell companies that make millions of dollars a year because their last name is Biden. That has all fallen apart. So what they have to do now is they have to, through a back door, they have to start making people believe in the institutions again. So what do? They take Trump, they put him on some lawfare bullshit, and they're like, all right, well, sorry. Hey, man, you break the law. Nobody's above the law. Hunter Biden on a bullshit gun charge. They should be charging him for, I don't know, human trafficking under like maybe under 18. Those girls were not 18. He was smoking crack, driving 100 miles an hour with prostitutes that he was shipping across state lines while avoiding $1.7 million in taxes. And we're talking about a fucking bullshit gun charge that he's going to walk on with some diversion. Fuck you. And then, however, but that's the point. They get to go, well, hey, look, we convicted Hunter. The system works. They did the son. They're doing, but they did the exact same thing in the other case that you just mentioned as well. They did the exact same thing. They were like, well, hey, listen, we'd like to correct some misinformation because listen, coming up for this next election, We're honest. Look at us. We'll correct stuff that's wrong 4 years later when it doesn't matter to anybody. And we pump this as a narrative for fucking ever as if it was truth. Forever. And they lied about it. And people were genuinely hurt financially, physically, morally, ethically, all kinds of stuff. The damage that those lies did of saying all this thing, the division in the country and all that. I mean, it's an election interference, slam dunk. Like, I don't know any other way to put it. And now they're just like, tee-hee, sorry, we'll be better. But listen to us now, bestie. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Dude, I just hope there's enough people out there that realize the fucking playbook, that know that this shit is just a show. I hope enough people, like, that's the one thing I hope that the Biden presidency has been, is a blessing in disguise, that enough people have woken up just how fake and fucking egregious this dude is. I hope, man. Like,
I mean, that's what we're doing here on this channel, you know?
Trying.
Like, look at the three of us. Like, we're fighting that fight, dude. You know?
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. It's like people who have legitimacy, right? It's like the old saying about leadership, right? Leadership's like a sword. You either know how to wield it or you don't. And then people that have to continue to argue about the fact that they have leadership, like, don't really have it. Right. And so it's like people that are truly legitimate don't have to continually remind you about, like, just how legitimate they are.
I'm in charge.
And why you should believe in
we
them.
get it.
Okay,
yeah, we get it. No, right. Yeah, fine. No, you're in command. I'm in charge, but whatever. It's tried. Right. It's really cute. All right, fine.
My authority. We're back to that again.
Whatever.
Oh, man. You guys ready to bounce on to the sixth here?
Yes, I did, dude.
That's right, dude. Like Lizzo on a bag of Cheetos.
Shout out to Chris for keeping us on track. He did it the last time we were together too. Like, man, I'll tell you, shout out to Chris for keeping us going here.
I know, man.
Gotta pay the bills, you know what I'm saying? But one of the things that I do like about
the mustache.
So yeah, I didn't want to take the whole leave beard down, you know. And what's funny is, it's like I have this week that I'm back at work, and then I go into the knife next week, and then it'd be 90 days of con leave. So I literally had to knock it down for a week. It's so heartbreaking. We all know how it goes. But yeah, so the sixth. One thing that I like about this amendment, it's one of those that kind of gets, like, lost, but people don't realize, like, just how important it is and everything that we're talking about. And I want to bring up, like, January 6th when I talk about this. So here, the Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. You have the right to know what you're being accused with. You brought that up earlier. To be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So you have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one will be provided to you by the state. You have that in there. Right to a speedy trial. Right to face your accuser. Right.
Fucks. They don't have to answer you. Fucking lying pieces of shit.
Yeah. I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
I declare bankruptcy.
I declare.
I do declare. Someone's been murdered in Savannah.
Did you guys see the episode of South Park
over there?
He does.
You never see? That's the Office, dickhead. It's a great Office reference to someone's been murdered in Savannah.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying what you remember.
Not you.
You do sound like Foghorn Leghorn.
Well, you sound like a meanie head. So take that, silly goose.
I will.
All right. Sixth Amendment. So the one that the one that sticks out here is, like, what do we just have with Trump in this lawfare, right? Like, all the way up, the defense had already rested their case. They were getting ready for jury deliberations. They were like, what the fuck is the charge here? Like, what crime, right? So to break it down as quickly as possible, 34 passed the statute of limitation misdemeanors that they bootstrapped in order to be felonies using an obscure law, and they applied it all in the theory that all these crimes were used to conceal a bigger crime, but we didn't know what that crime was until the very end. And it was conceal, and it was election fraud, but it was a random statute in New York. I'd have to look the number up, but that's the baseline. But the defense had already rested. They were going to jury deliberations, and they were like, listen, a lot of these can be applied to one of these three laws that could have been broken. And if you're using these 34 things in order to obfuscate that other felony, whatever that was, then poof, then this is a conviction. And you don't even all have to agree which crime.
They don't even all have to agree.
They don't even have to agree.
Existed.
That is ridiculous. Like, that is the definition of, like, why am I being charged? Like, as I say, like, you're arresting me for what? Why are you detaining me?
And it's not like Alvin Bragg didn't mention that he was going to put Trump in jail when he was running,
No.
right? Like,
Well,
as if that's fair.
my favorite is Colangelo. So Colangelo is number 3 at the DOJ.
Yeah.
He's sitting there doing work. He's on his way up. Like he's learning from Sith Lord himself, Merrick Garland, the worst AG that anybody's ever seen on the face of the fucking planet. So this guy just randomly leaves this position where he's being groomed, probably literally and physically, by the emperor. And he's just going to bounce and go to where? Some bullshit appellate, New York court?
Right.
Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Oh, magically, why did he go there? Because Trump's trial started 6 months later. So you're telling me the DOJ doesn't have some influence on this when the number 3 guy that's rocketing up the charts as far as who we care about in the DOJ world, he just magically shows up in order to prosecute the number 1 leading candidate for president in the United States of America. And you're telling me I'm not allowed to look at that. You're telling me I'm not allowed to go, hey guys, hold on. Really? Right. Really? You can't tell me what the charge is. You can't tell me what the due process is. You can't tell me he wasn't allowed to enter evidence. He wasn't allowed to have an election fraud star witness. The star witness they asked, they were like, hey, this guy's an expert. We're going to bring him up. He can tell you 100% this is in no way election fraud. He is the expert. Well, he wrote the law that you're referencing. He can tell you if it is. And they were like, no, he's not allowed to testify. Jury's not allowed to hear from him.
And you know who can?
Yeah. There are Jesus. Well, there are so many, and Brandon, to your point, man, like great call on the red pills that are just dropping, because that's why his support with blacks is so big. Even Bill Maher right now. Bill Maher got on his show and he goes, hold on. You're telling me that he's more popular than he's ever been with blacks, Latinos, even women, even suburban women. He's more popular because Joe Biden is such a bad president. He's got the lowest approval rating of all time at 37%. He's underwater in every single category in every single swing state as of right the fuck now. It's ridiculous. He is so far underwater. Bill Maher goes, wait a second. You're telling me Trump got back all this ground and somehow Biden leapt forward in the polls today? How? Is there some new voter? Is there some new voter pool that just popped up and they're all for Biden? Somehow he's like, you're telling me
they came over the border, but
right. Well, yeah. Well, that I'll tell you what, you want to look at a slippery slope. It's like, hey, we're going to let the dreamers in. All right, we're going to give some people amnesty. And then we're like, hey, you're trying to replace the population. They're like, that's racist. You're not allowed to say replacement theory. They're like, well, no, we're just trying to replace demographics because we say that's destiny. Demographics is destiny since 2020. And they're like, well, we're not going to let them vote. They're trying to let them vote. We're not going to let them work.
100%
They're already letting them work. We're not going to take your health care for them. They're 100% taking their health care. Don't call it an invasion. It's totally an invasion. Don't say illegal aliens. They're illegal aliens.
Oh, dude.
Like, it just is what it is. And the fact that
I agree with you 100%.
Well, and it's like
call a rapist an illegal alien. It's a non-documented human.
Well, Bill Maher had another great quote, and I think it's just because I have Bill Maher at top of mind. But
target practice.
Sheesh. But Bill Maher was talking about, he's like, look at Sweden. He was like, Sweden, highest murder rate. Somali gangs are fighting it out in the street using hand grenades in Sweden. And people there are saying, right? People, loud noises.
In the streets of Mogadishu, bro.
Loud noises. I had a trident. Yeah, you got a hand grenade at one point. You're going to have to lay low. But he's like, and people there are being basically canceled because they're saying that it's not from the immigrants. And even Bill Maher was like, are you joking? Yes, you can say that. Like when you can show when you open the border and you had these open border policies till now, you can see a decline in the society. And to say that it's not for some fear of racism is a fucking lie. It is a lie. Multiculturalism has not worked in Europe. Bro. Everywhere it is right now. Multiculturalism, as they call it, which is their open borders policy. It has not worked at all.
It's just
not. Bro,
in
and I'll just
one
go back
place.
To my time in the Air Force Security Forces being in Germany. And my unit was the off-base unit for the KMC with Polizei. And the majority of the violent assaults and things like that we went to off base that involved Americans or even Germans had to do with immigrants, most of them from Syria that Merkel had let in. And then instead of putting them in all these cities that matter, right, quote unquote, in Germany, like Berlin or Frankfurt, she stuck them in all these rural, smaller cities like Kaiserslautern, and they caused all these fucking issues the same way that you're talking about, dude. It's just incompatible with Western society completely and totally.
Right. And I mean, obviously the talk about immigration is bigger, and the talk about this whole problem
yeah.
is bigger. And
Not
you
to
know, there's
derail this.
what no, but it's fine. Like that, I'm totally okay with it, because people need to really start wrapping their heads around like, hey, you need to find out what this is. Like, if you're not going to assimilate to the country, you know, we're not asking you to do. We want you to assimilate to the country, to come with our values and our cultures. You came to our country, like
Not too big of an ask.
right. It isn't. So like that's what the ask is here. And now that's almost repugnant to people to hear. They're like, oh, well, you're a xenophobe and you don't want people to come here. I'm like, no, I want them to do, I don't tell people that I'm an Irish American. I haven't told people that for years. I'm an American, and my kids are all Americans. You know, their grandparents or their great grandparents in some cases came from a different country, but they don't even talk about that. There's no connection to their Polish
Supposed to
heritage
be
or
the point.
yeah.
You can't call yourself a melting pot and then continuously talk about the ingredients, right? It's one pot. You know what I mean? To get too fucking analogous, but yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, man.
You guys watch Paul Joseph Watson at all? You guys know who that is?
I do not.
He's from the UK, but he's a rare British conservative. So yes, they do exist. But anyway, he made a video today about a rape crime that happened in Germany, and it's like this poor young lady was like gang raped by like 11.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, 11 criminals, and they were all immigrants from elsewhere outside of the country. And out of the 11, 9 got off scot-free. 1 received like a small punishment for it, and then 1 got, I think, like 4 years in jail or something out of the 11. What was really funny, not funny, this is tragic, ironically funny though, is that people that started messaging, like some of the names of the criminals got doxxed, and so people started like messaging them and telling them to, like, you know, go home, and like, you guys are like, you're an animal, and just saying like things to them. I mean, like they gang raped this poor young lady, you know.
They are animals.
Like, and it wasn't just, it was like a 3-stage gang rape, where it was like the initial 2 had their way with her, and then she was like unconscious or something, and then they started texting their buddies, and like another wave of people came, and then like that's how they were like bringing people into this horrific crime, right? And it's like, still only 1 of them went to jail, but who did also get jail time was apparently one of these people that was harassing them and saying evil things, you know, mean things about them online because they were immigrants.
Yeah, she got more jail time than the person who actually raped this person for saying mean things online about them because they were an immigrant. Literally.
So it's like, that's the type of upside down
world
that
we fucking live in, bro. Dude, I just want to know, dude, like what is the line? You like to say that, Aaron, like the line in the sand. Like, what's the fucking line when people have had enough, dude, and start just fucking? I mean, we see a lot of it. You know, some of it, the vigilantism we see, like the one in New York where they caught the guy that fucking raped that chick and they handcuffed him to the car or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? You see a lot more of this like vigilante justice shit, which I think is just a symptom of all these problems, honestly. But you know, I don't know. I just don't know what the line is. The line's different for everybody. It's such a hard, convoluted question, but like, you know, I don't know.
I think the short answer is when it gets bad enough. You know, that's a pretty easy way. I think Dan Bongino says it pretty well. He usually talks about, you know, people are voting or if they're fed up. When it gets bad enough, yeah, I wish a lot of people would lean forward and would see these, you know, these dominoes falling. You know, for independent analysts or, you know, tinfoil hat wearers like ourselves, you kind of feel like you're taking crazy pills. People are like, oh my goodness, did you hear about, so apparently
we're shouting about this stuff every day.
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling me these fact checkers were never really like fact checkers? They were actually bought and paid for by Big Pharma, and they've been the entire time. And we're like,
yeah, the snowman or the astronaut meme, it's like always has been.
Always has been. We've told you this since 2021. They're like, I can't believe that this mRNA technology isn't a vaccine. I can't believe they admitted that. And we're like, I was like, what do you mean you can't believe it? We've been telling you this since before they rolled it out. We're like, listen, it's not going to stop transmission. It's not going to stop you from getting sick. They're going to say a bunch of things that isn't true. Now we're seeing a ton of different stuff. Terminal CWO just broke the story about how the National Guard, 100% post-vaccine, had a vaccine injury, terrible heart condition. They had to admit that it was service related. Like now the DOD cards are about to start falling with that as well, because they're going to have to admit the DMED myocarditis numbers have not been challenged. The Navy commander, lieutenant commander, he got reprimanded for the stuff that he put out. They never challenged the numbers that he did. And that's an important part of that story. because it's important to watch what the news will tell you, but it's even more important to watch what they gloss over. They never say, hey, this is a fake report. The DOD says this isn't right. They're like, he should have never had that data, and he should have never put it out. And he got it by downloading it to an illegal computer source, and we're going to punish him for that. They not one time were like, hey, well, listen, myocarditis, in fact, is not up 857%. Yes, the fuck it is. Yes, it is. And that's a stop that. And then we can show you where the DMED was manipulated. He's been doing work on this the entire time. So for all this to start falling, you just look at it and you're like, you've been lying to us the entire time. You've been gaslighting us the entire time. You've been trying to divide us the entire time. And you feel crazy because you look at people and you're like, how are you just figuring this out now? How are you just putting this together? Like, we've literally been telling you this for a long time. It makes it tough. So you go through these like weird ebbs and flows. Like,
And then
now
every
I'm
now
like,
and again too, you see like some smooth brain, you know, try to come off the top ropes, like in our comment section, saying things like, "Oh, you guys just don't understand. You're so misguided. He was convicted on 34 counts," and I'm like, 34 counts of what? If you can describe
34 counts of a guy,
right now,
a guy in a ledger writing legal expenses for the checks that he paid, because it was 34 payments. And the guy was like, it's a legal expense. It's literally an intern writing in a ledger. And that's what this is a count of. People are, it makes me so bad when they try to insult me too. Like, this is for everybody. I hope you guys make this a real. I don't care what you say about me in the comment section on Instagram. It's not a real place. You can be as mean as you want. I don't care.
Right.
I promise you. I'm trolling you in the comments.
It just gives Aaron more ammunition
I
and
am
lights that fire.
Trolling you in the comments. You are making my page get views on views. It puts me on the For You page every time. You idiots argue in the comments, and you think you're going to change my mind. You're an avatar with no likes and no follows. I know what it is. Shut up. I don't care.
How many of those accounts do you think are bots though?
All of them.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I don't know. I have to assume all of them.
Quite a few.
Because there's a few comments that I'll see, and I'm just
you have
like,
some repeat offenders though.
Oh, there's like 5 or 6 that I can just list off. I mean, those are real people. Those really are like actual, because the bots never come back. I never have anybody follow on. Like,
back at you.
Yeah, well, that, and they'll like DM me and they'll do all this other stuff. Like, I know which ones those are, but like, I don't know, man. But I'll tell you what, I don't know how many of my followers, you know, people that like or comment on it. I don't know how many of those are bots either. Probably
I had one, and I was like, dude, I cannot tell if this guy is being masterfully sarcastic, because it was so simple. But he was just like, "Thank you, President Biden, for everything that you're doing for Americans," and I was just like,
I remember that.
Those are the weird ones. You're like, I don't know what you.
I don't
know if you're trolling level 1000 or you're a fucking moron level 1000.
Yeah, because you're on.
Well, that because you feel back is like, you don't want to get into a war of words with an autistic idiot that just happens to have a fucking phone. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he's just generally fucking
just
retarded.
Over here punching down.
Yeah, like, dude. How am I going to win?
Bought me this.
Oh yeah, take this, you fucking
11.
Take this, you fucking idiot, with your room temperature IQ, you fucking piece of shit. Oh, where'd you get that placard to park close to the front of the fucking Sizzler, you dickhead? Oh, my mom still gives me bass. Yeah, look at you. How cool.
Yeah, right.
Like, I recently just had an IQ test. Guess who can say retard now?
Oh, yeah. It's my word. You have to say the R word. I hate it.
It's the real hard R.
Oh, yikes.
I was going to bring up one thing.
Minor.
A minor. Dude, classic. I'm Team Kendrick. I just want to say it real fast. Absolutely.
Because you're an adult that can hear?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who the fuck these Gen Z pussies. Anyway.
Is there another side of that? Is this one? He brought all of Los Angeles together.
That's got to be the bots. That's got to be the bots, the people that think Drake won that. I think Chris is confused about what we're talking about.
It's fine, buddy. Don't worry.
You guys left me behind on this one.
It's
okay.
Cool.
Just tell people you're Team Kendrick if they ask. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
I'm on whatever team you're on there, big dog. So.
Yeah. K-Dot.
Perfect. K-Dot. Yeah. No, we've talked about it a few times, the Japanese internment camps. And I meant to bring it up when we were talking about the Fifth Amendment too, but this applies to the Sixth. But in 1942, when they were rounding up Japanese Americans and throwing them into internment camps, there's a pretty famous Supreme Court case between a Japanese American and the U.S. government, Fred Korematsu. So he was given orders to leave his house and report to an internment camp, but he didn't. And then eventually he was arrested and thrown in the internment camp anyway and held. But he was held for like 5 months without his trial. But really what it is, I mean, it's more of a Fifth Amendment thing because of the due process laws that were violated against him. But I just want to say too that it touches on the Sixth Amendment too, and eventually he lost the Supreme Court case. It was pretty close. It was another 5-4. But in 1983, after he'd been dead for a long time, was another one time where they basically said, "Hey, we fucked up. We're sorry," and they just completely nullified everything that they brought against the guy. But again, like the whole point of this conversation was to talk about how the U.S. government has subverted Americans and their rights, and these things that just because you're Japanese doesn't mean you're not afforded due process and doesn't mean you're not afforded all of these things to know what you're being charged with, and not being detained until you can have a trial, right, without being, your rights not being trampled on. And here's an example of that we, I didn't even know about it until we started doing research for this episode. But this is just another example. This Japanese internment camps are a good thing that we can go back to all the time, because it's probably one of the bigger subversion of rights before all this other stuff like the Patriot Act and COVID and all this other shit. But just wanted to make another point about it.
Absolutely crazy how that's just, it's like collectively memory hold. That is a huge part of American history that you just breezed over it. Like World War II, they were like, oh man, all right, check it out. There was this axis of evil, and then like 2 weeks goes by and they're like, okay, and then we get to the Ardennes, and then another 2 weeks go by and they're like, all right, and then there were these camps anyway, and then they just like breeze on, and they never talk about, you know what I mean? They never talk about how we jailed Americans and kept them in internment camps.
We went on vacation.
Yeah. I think the camps on the other side of the Atlantic kind of overshadowed the ones in the United States, but
slightly.
They were there.
We were doing it too.
There's a really good song by is it Fort Minor? Yeah, Fort Minor. Yeah, it's Fort Minor. It's called Kyoto. It's about Mike Shinoda. It's his rap group. It's on the album The Rising Tide. But he sings a song about being a guy that gets sent to an internment camp because it was his grandfather. His grandfather got sent to an internment camp. He wrote a song about it. Anyway, it's just absolutely crazy that there's that. And then the other thing that gets memory hold all the time, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I just thought about it and I want to say it on a podcast, was that the USS Liberty was almost sunk by Israel in order to cause a false flag. And there was one person on the USS Liberty that was charged and convicted of a crime. Can you tell me who that one person was?
No, I can't.
It was an Israeli pilot that refused to fire on United States naval aviators and Navy personnel that were in the water swimming the lifeboats. And everybody knew about it, to include our president. Go look up the USS Liberty and then tell me if Israel's our greatest ally or not. I have a really simple line for how I call people allies, and you can never try to kill them. You can never kill Americans for a false flag to get us into another war. That's my line. It's pretty simple. If you don't,
the exchange that you had in your comment section, to go back to your comment section with Misfit Patriot about about Israel and the United States, I mean, you don't have to, because it's not really the point of this episode, but I would like, it may be interesting to listen to you talk about why you say Israel's not our biggest ally. One of the things that I thought that was really important you said in there was that you've been to briefings to discuss things you're not allowed to say to Israel, and those briefings were longer than the actual joint exercises you had with Israeli troops.
They're the biggest collector on United States military, folks, is Israel. The biggest collector on the United States military industrial complex is Israel. That's just a fact of the matter. There's a Five Eye intelligence sharing system that is out there. We have Five Eyes that we share intelligence with openly, right? It's like the UK and France and Australia. You know why Israel's not in there? Because they collect on us. Because they collect on us all of the time. Okay. Like it just is what it is, man. Like I have my view applies to everybody, people focusing on the Israel part of it because it's hot to talk about right now, but we don't have allies either by military force and the threat and use of, so like say Japan, that's why we have bases in Japan, right? Because we nuked 200,000 people. And we're like, hey, we're going to have a base here now. So what are they going to say? No. So Germany, you look at Germany, you look at Italy, you look at these places that you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we're just going to leave some bases here. And then if you want to, like, we're going to give you some money because it's like valuable for us to be there. Like Turkey, that's why Incirlik exists, because it's proximity to the airspace, or IUD or Saudi Arabia or some of these other hotspots that we would need to push into areas, especially in the Middle East. Indo-Pacific, same thing. You start looking around, you're like, why do we have a base here? And you're like, oh, because it's a refueling stop. Like, hey, Diego Garcia, hey, whatever. We're going to put bases there because we have money. And if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have anything. So we'll build your town up. We don't have allies. That's it. We have people that we prop up or we use their shit, essentially. Nobody's sending us care packages. We like the people of California are $37 trillion in debt or whatever the fuck that, we're $37 trillion in debt as a country. I want to say like California is in debt of billions, and they're not sending care packages over here for us. If militarily we fucking stick our neck out, we get spanked somewhere, nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's giving us military aid. There is no Lockheed Martin extra, like, you think UK is going to give some of their 5th gen fighters? Like, hey guys, we just need to, they're going to be like, no, sorry. If you guys fall, then we got to protect ourselves against everybody else. There's nowhere to go. We are.
Cali has $1.6 trillion in debt. Just
1.6 trillion. Sorry. I said the billions because I wanted to give alleged lizard person, Gavin Newsom, piece of shit.
Dude, that guy.
But yeah, like, crazy. But we don't have allies. For people to say we have allies, and I'll tell you what, Zach, Misfit Patriot, we're going to get on and we're going to have a podcast together and talk. I don't know what platform it's going to be on. We're going to talk. I'd love that, dude, and I'd love having that conversation because it was like, he's a passionate ass motherfucker. So am I. Like, we can sit there and have a passionate ass talk and go, hey man, that's not how I feel. Okay, that's not how I feel either. Well, here's my point. All right, tight. I get what you're saying. I don't agree with you. We're just going to move on. And he's awesome like that. But yeah, man, the whole allies thing, no. Until I see some other, like, until I see Ukraine hang our flag in their Congress and, kneel, before the God of the United States and capitalism and say that we're the best country that's ever lived and then send us money.
Kente cloths, just fucking,
Until that happens, like, I don't remember seeing that a whole lot. So it looks like we're kind of all our own. So don't tell me about who our allies are. And you definitely can't start with one that killed Americans in the name of a false flag to draw us into another war and then kept it completely silent. And the only people that they prosecuted was one pilot that didn't kill enough Americans. That's what he got charged with. Go look it up yourself. So no, I don't think we have allies. I don't care about this proxy war. I
agree with that.
The little Ukraine-Russia war. The only argument that I even took for, I guess, pragmatic sake way early on was, all right, how much money have we spent? It was like $50 billion. Okay, tight. Well, how much money would we have to spend to actually degrade Russia's military in the way that these people are doing it now? All right, I guess more than that. So I guess this is somehow cost effective at this point. Well, then we figured out we don't know where 60% of it's going. We can't figure out how to replenish our own shelves. We don't know how to protect our own resources enough or have our internal processes enough to, say, be energy efficient in order to process the ammunition which we need. But we can't because of our own policy administration, our own administration's policies. Like, these things are all interconnected. And I'll tell you what, dude, if you just cut off the flow from all the fucking aid overseas and you go, hold on, let's do this. Let's just shut the border down for a little bit. Let's figure out let's figure out who's in the country. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's stop sending money to Ukraine and fucking everybody else. Sending $900 million to Pakistan for gender transition studies and dumb shit. Quit it. Let's just figure out what we got for a cycle or two. How about we do one quarter where we just take a pause? Like, everybody has to have admin weeks. You can't deploy all the time. You have to have an admin week every once in a while. Let's take one quarter and go, do we know who's in the country? Do we have enough resources for Americans? Because the people in Hawaii have had like one $700 check. And we're paying $1.2 billion to Ukraine so that they can keep paying their retirement for people that live there.
Right.
Yeah, can America just have one hot girl summer where we just do me?
Please.
Right?
And then
just gonna do me. Just gonna do me.
And then the skeleton at the bottom of the pool meme, the people of like East Palestine, Ohio.
Oh
like,
my God,
you even remember about them?
Dude, oh my God. I just can't even. Yeah, the Maui fires, the speaking of memory hold stuff, like, remember the Waukesha Christmas massacre where the guy drove through a crowd of elderly people and killed like 60-year-old women and kids and stuff, and we just never talked about it ever again?
I know that one well. Waukesha is right down the road from me, dude.
Thank you for saying it right.
That was me trying to help him out.
I don't care. That place doesn't exist to me. It's not real. I don't care how. Waukesha. Hey, welcome to Waukesha.
Not real,
Yeah,
Waukesha.
Wisconsin. Fucking Wisconsin.
I knew what
Waukesha
Waukesha
sound like
was.
you'd be trying to call your girl on a Friday night, dude. He's like, yo, Waukesha.
Yo, Waukesha.
Yeah. Anywho,
We jump into the 7th.
Yeah, so
Chris?
the seventh is really kind of funny to me. And it's just because this is one of those things that's like based on when it was written till now. But it says in suites of common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20. $20 whole dollars.
Not even
The
take
right
a
of a
guess.
trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. So I don't really
I
have
don't
a
think
whole
I've
lot
ever
to say.
read the 7th Amendment one time.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to chew on that one a little bit more because I feel like this is one of those that's just gotten buried over time. Because it's like, is this amendment still really even valid? You know, $20 dude. You can't even like step into an American courtroom and you're already like hundreds and hundreds of dollars just in legal fees. So it's like that one is just by inflation alone has been made. You know what I mean?
I am-
Figure out how much $20 was at the time the founders wrote it as opposed
Seriously,
to now.
that'd be interesting to know.
We could Google it, but that's stupid. We should just go on.
I agree.
I'm
Anyway.
trying to find like relevant court cases to the Seventh Amendment. Dairy Queen has a relevant, apparently, Seventh Amendment court case. The Supreme Court ruled that issues that are illegal in nature should be tried by a jury, even if they are joined by equitable claims. Dairy Queen lost. Didn't know that. Yeah.
Didn't care. What happened? Like,
Yeah,
what does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't even know. It doesn't say.
I don't even eat a Dairy Queen. If I wanted a finger in my ice cream, I could just stay at my house and let my kids do it, dude.
Got a finger in your ice cream with Dairy Queen?
You guys ever?
I feel like there's a story
that's how they kept this blizzard up when they flipped it upside down. They just,
No. There's
a story here, Chris. I'm sure of it.
No, it was like when I was growing up. When I was a kid, somebody said that they found like a finger or something like in a blizzard or something that they got.
Do you understand that we weren't in your childhood and we'd have no idea that you're referencing that story?
I thought it was a fairly
famous story.
It was in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It was in Waukesha.
It never left the land of 1,000 lakes. Whatever the fuck you guys are. What is Wisconsin? The cheese curd state?
You're hurting my soul.
The dairy state.
Yeah, what do you got? You guys are fucking what? Hey, how you doing, state? What the fuck are you, Fargo?
That's North Dakota.
They're all the same to me. It's all the same bullshit. It's flat. It's partially green.
South Dakota.
I'm
they
gonna
should
screw
just
up your
get rid of the state line and just call it Dakota. They really should.
Indiana, you can just like Southern Indiana, Illinois, the next one until you get to like the Rockies. You can just go north from that line and everything's the fucking same. I don't care what state it is. It's green. It's got fried food and fat chicks. I'm here for it.
Just one state just called the Midwest.
That's Midwest. It. Well, you know, it's funny too.
We may get that when we balkanize. That may still happen.
That's nice. We talk about, I was saying somebody calls Ohio the Midwest. I'm like, motherfucker, we're one state from the ocean. If you just drive straight across Pennsylvania, you can get to the ocean in a day. It's like 6 hours. Yeah. It's really not that far. You can also drive, you're a lake away from Canada. That's not Midwest of anything.
Ohio touches one of the Great Lakes, like
20% of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like Ohio gets a bad rap. I've never been. I hate Ohio State, so I'm just going to say that out loud. Yeah.
Everybody hates a winner. I don't know what to tell you. They're the best. The best dynasty is one of the best in the last 100 years of football. I don't know what to tell you.
that's
I don't either.
I know you're not talking about the Packers right now. What are you talking about?
I don't care about the Packers.
Yeah, no one cares, dude.
Nobody cares about the Packers.
You guys have Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and they're both pieces of shit, apparently. So
we don't have either of them anymore.
Why is Aaron Rodgers? Why are you talking like you know these dudes? I don't know those dudes.
I don't. I'm just trying to get Chris's goat.
Why are you catching frag, dude?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is listening right now. Big fan. What's up, Aaron? He listens to all the stuff that I do. It's because he knows my name.
I do like Aaron's opinions lately. Just trying to get Chris's nuts in a bind.
My guy.
Yeah, I know, dude. Yeah. I could tell. Number 8, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
Tell that
the
to
View,
the
View is still
6th.
on TV. The View is still on TV. Cruel and unusual punishment.
That was hard.
Yeah, what about being in there's
what about being in solitary confinement for months before your trial date for what ends up being trespassing? Yeah. Not a single charge of insurrection. So that's kind of crazy.
That's not just the 8th that's violating too, but then you've got the 6th everything in there because you're not
5th,
you're not getting speedy trial, and then you've got 5. Yeah, dude, what they're doing to those people right now, they need to.
Yeah. If you're listening, the whole point of this conversation is to convince you that the U.S. government does not have your best interests at heart. This has been the plot of these 2 episodes, and like this, the January 6th thing is replete with examples of that. All the amendments.
Hate you, and they think they think that you're dumb.
I think that's the worst part. Is now they've just 100% like with cringe Jean-Pierre and her little cheap fakes from the other day.
Karen
they literally they think you're dumb in such a way that they disdain you. It's not even that they hate you. It's that it's like, Agent Smith in the Matrix, like he thinks you're a virus. You just disgust him, but you're just in his area. Like that is literally how these people feel for you. For Corinne Jean-Pierre, by the way, she's like 49. Shout out to her skincare routine. Shouty, she's old.
Blacks don't crack, dude.
Her
She's
skincare
got
routine
that
is
Marv
nice.
from Home Alone 2 getting electrocuted by a washing machine haircut, though.
She does make it work. She does make it work. Noted black lesbian, Corinne Jean-Pierre. But for her to stand up in front of people and go, oh no, those were selectively edited. Those are cheap fakes. And everybody was like, hold the fuck on.
Right.
They played the entire clip, specifically of Biden. They were like, yeah, Biden wandered away. They're like, Biden didn't wander away. He went to see another paratrooper. That dude with that parachute was another 15 meters away from Biden, had no idea that Biden was standing there. Biden was like pretending like he could see emotion and was going through his little Parkinson's exhibition of like moving his arm, which is completely stiff. And people were like, well, he didn't wander away. Oh, did they not come back and get him? Did they not walk over and put their hand? And then they did the same thing with the Obama clip. And Chris, you had a great post on the unedited version. Like Obama, I'll tell you what, that's I'm big on the nuance. I'm big for just like one step below. Obama, if he wanted to show power, if he really wanted to show that Joe Biden was in charge, he would have walked over. He would have just given him a little hug. He would have said something on his ear. He would have given him like that quick little grab. And by the way, that's another thing with old people suffering from dementia. They need physical touch to bring them back to the physical world so they can walk through and stop the movement that's going on in their head. It's a classic Parkinson sign. He could have went over. Obama could have just grabbed him on the thing, but like, hey, Joe, it's time to go. And then you can do that in a classy way, and nobody would have known. What did Obama do? He walked him just like you'd walk an
4-year-old you're dragging out of Walmart, dude.
Just like you'd walk an elderly man you're afraid is going to fall. You're terrified for him the entire time.
The small of the back.
It was like up on his shoulder blades, and he was walking behind him. You could see Obama was like exaggerating the way that he was like, he's like, oh, I got to walk slower because I'm so healthy, and Joe's not. The fucking undermining of that little, if there is ever a humiliation ritual to show who's in charge right now and who is actually leading around, like that was it. And then they had the audacity to be like, well, hey, you guys edited whatever. We're like, no, CNN edited 9 different jump cuts so that you didn't see Biden shuffling along with his wet nurse, Obama. We showed you the complete unedited version, and you guys are like, oh, it's selectively edited. No, it's the opposite of which. So for Corinne Jean-Pierre just to stand up there to your face and be like, those are cheap fakes, you're like, you liar.
Right.
You liar.
Right. And their entire argument strategy, I like how it's basically boiled down lately to nuh-uh.
100%.
You are.
It's so fucking true.
So
deny, make counter accusations.
There was a thing with Trump. They were like, oh, yeah, well, somebody had to hold his hand off thing. It was literally he reached down, he grabbed his son's hand and let it go. And that was the picture. They were like, here's the video. The video is even 3 seconds long. Trump walks, grabs, doesn't even break stride, and just goes. They had to selectively stop that. And that little twink Harry Sisson put that out.
Oh, did I hate that fucking dipshit, man?
Oh my god, that chick is so fucking. I'll talk about her now that she's 21. Before it was like, okay, you're a child, I don't want to fucking talk to you. That little bitch, I swear to God, her little Ellen DeGeneres haircut. Oh my god, dude, there is nothing that makes me more mad.
Shout out to Dan Holloway. I love when he trolls him on fucking Twitter. It's hilarious.
Every time.
He's so good at that.
Absolute best.
Yeah, man.
Well, did you guys see the video clip? I can't remember if it was CNN or MSNBC, but they're talking about Trump's cognitive decline now. And it's
I've seen some of that.
Totally holding up
just out of nowhere.
Yeah. So
it's what is it? Projection.
What about it?
Well, it's accusation through projection, right? Like the Democrats are great at accusing you of what they in fact are doing. So they'll say that you rigged the election when in fact they rigged the election. They'll say
it's a quiet acknowledgement of Biden's mental decline too, that they're pointing the finger and being like, well, look, Trump too.
Right,
Trump too, right?
We got to even this playing field. Listen, they're both mentally compromised. One of them, the fact that they're sequestering Biden's ex-White House doctor basically was like, you know why they're squirreling him away? Because they need to figure out the exact right dose of cocktail of drugs that they're going to give him, and it takes like 7 days to dial that in. Now I can't verify that, but that's what the doctor said. Okay, so talk to him about the quote. Don't talk to me about the quote. YouTube, I didn't say it. But the doctor straight up was just like, yeah, man, you got to dial that in over the course of a couple of days, and he's really got to be arrested. Trump even called him out. He's like, I'm campaigning. I'm going out on the road. He's like, oh, yeah. I don't care. And I will say just quickly about the debates. Man, they think this rule set is going to be better. You are crazy. The thing you're going to have to watch for, because it's supposed to be no
Jake
interruptions.
Fucking Tapper.
Well, it's supposed to be no interruptions. So it's supposed to be Jake Tapper.
They're actually doing Trump a huge favor. By
turning he's just going to get on a roll, and he's just going to, dude, for a minute and a half, do you know how much he's going to come up? You're telling me Joe Biden has to come up with 1:30 of Donald Trump peppering him about his son and foreign business and the economy and everything. He is going to just pound him about the face. And Joe Biden, okay, great. Give him 1:30. You're telling me he's going to put coherent thoughts together in response? It's going to take one time. Trump's going to be like, you didn't respond to a single question. You're reading off of prepared cards. I'm going to give you another list of things. How about crime? How about your Secret Service agent was just stripped naked at gunpoint, California, and he was robbed? How about a trans dude showing his tits on the White House lawn for Easter and you taking a selfie with him? What do you have to say about that? How about all of these other things that you've forced down everybody's throats? Tell me about how that does not go well for Biden. Like, granted, they can't back and forth and they think that they're going to whatever. Trump was like, listen, they're teaching him how to stand for 90 minutes at a time. That's what they're doing. That's what perhaps they're doing.
He looks like a malfunctioning It's a Small World animatronic, dude. That's what he looks like.
Or it's who is it that said that every time he gets done speaking, he basically turns into a Roomba? He's like,
who was that? Did he just back? It's like Pong, dude.
Because that's exactly what.
It's really funny. Yeah, it was a comic. I can't remember who did that bit. But it was a really funny bit. It's he just turns into a Roomba.
Is it?
It might have been. That's what it came to mind. Shane Gillis came to mind right away, but I don't know who it was.
I don't know if it was him or Theo Vaughn or. It was one of those dudes.
Oh, dude, I love Theo Vaughn.
My favorite Theo Vaughn joke of all time. Yeah, man. My cousin got bit by a gay guy, so we'll see. He says it's so deadpan. It's just Theo, and he's just pacing back and forth. It's like, yeah, man, my cousin got bit by a dead guy or by a gay guy, so we'll see.
Yeah,
he's just waiting for him to turn.
I fucking love him, man.
Oh, shit.
He does that one stupid bit about picking up and moving a turtle. He's like, you ever come across a turtle? He goes, yo, help that homie out, dude. Pick him up, move him across. You can save him 5 days of travel. It's such a stupid thing to go on about, but he gets on a roll.
I love Theo.
Yeah, he's an American gem, dude.
Oh, fantastic.
That haircut, too, dude. It's like, don't go change him, bud.
No.
Never.
No.
All right. We are rounding third and heading for home here, guys. Amendment number 9, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights.
This is a big one.
Shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
Chris, you want to talk Roe v. Wade, bro?
Can we just write this out in crayons for everybody? Let's say this. So let's say we've been telling you for 4 hours now that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is all you need. They're perfect in their construction. You just take them as they're written and apply them to today. It works great. That's number one. Number two, it is a list. It is a restriction of what the government is allowed to do for you. So when we talk about the 9th and we start talking about enumerated rights, just think to yourself, oh, enumerated rights. Well, I think healthcare is a right. No, the fuck it isn't. Is it in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? Does it talk about healthcare? Does it talk about abortion? No. So if it doesn't talk about it directly, then what does it mean? It means that rights not enumerated to the states are protected by the Constitution. So those things are all good together, right? The enumerated rights. Okay. So if it doesn't mention a specific thing that is a right, then it's not a thing. It's not a thing at all. That's all you got to know.
Well, and two, we got to talk about what the difference between a positive and a negative right is too. Because it's
right.
The Constitution does such a good job, and one of the things that made our founding fathers so brilliant is that these are the list of, by virtue of being a human being made in the image of God Almighty, you have these rights just by virtue of being alive. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Nobody can take those things away from you, right? But to go back and to start bringing up some of the dudes, some of the great thinkers in economics like John Locke and Adam Smith, right? As soon as you start talking about positive rights, I have the right to healthcare, I have the right to housing, I have the right to, and it's like, okay, but now you're compelling the labor and goods of others for yourself, thus denying them the fundamental rights liberty, because now I can't do what I want to do with my time because I'm being compelled to grant, to give health
Correct.
care as a doctor to others for which I'm not being paid. You're taking the right of them to their own labor, to their own pursuit of happiness away by saying, but no, no, you don't have the right to health
To
care. You
somebody
don't
else's
have the right to
labor.
housing.
No.
You don't have the right to somebody else's labor. You just want free shit.
You
You know
just
what? And
sound
it's like, stop
pro-slavery at
pissing on
this
my leg
point.
and try to tell me it's raining. And it's like, oh, you think you have such a smart argument about it. You just want free shit, dude. Just come
At
out
the
and
end of the
say what
day,
it is
bro.
that you actually want.
Well, it just too. It underscores the way that people don't understand your rights by saying things like that. Everything is a right. I have a right to this. I have a right to not be offended. I have the right to healthcare. All these things. They're
You
not
have the right
fucking
to
rights,
these
bro. You don't
nuts.
have
How
the
about
right
that?
to not be offended, dog. To participate in a free society, you're gonna be fucking offended. You don't have a right to not be offended. That's the most insane, asinine shit I've ever heard in my life.
Preach, brother. And you know what? You guys were breaking up that entire time, so I can't wait to see this in post and be like, "Oh, that's what they're talking about." So I just sat here. I was
I
like,
will
"Hey, you know
say,
what you do
listen,
on
man.
this thing? You just quiet. You just let it go."
I will say this, dude. It froze your face in like a really handsome angle. It
It
was
was
like
Oh,
a
good.
that's
fucking
nice.
headshot for it was like a headshot for like an acting agency. It's just like
It's true.
it was perfect, dude. It
Right.
honestly was, man. It caught the shine from the fucking the pomade. What'd you call it the other day? It's
It's
not
fiber.
pomade.
So more on
Fiber.
the
We're
Yeah.
back on that again.
so more on the ninth. The the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution protects rights that aren't explicitly stated in the Constitution, which are known as unenumerated rights. The amendment was introduced to prevent future generations from arguing that a right doesn't exist because it's not listed in the Bill of Rights. However, the Ninth Amendment has rarely been used in constitutional law, and some legal scholars consider it irrelevant until the 80s. And then that kind of brings us up to Roe v. Wade, which is the biggest unenumerated clause decision of the ninth. So that was a big one. How do you guys feel about Roe v. Wade now that it's gone? Supreme Court ruled, I'll just tee it up. The Supreme Court ruled that women have a right to privacy and privacy rights over their bodies, which made abortion legal in the United States. This was settled under the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was always very against Roe v. Wade. I think it was the justices were really legislating from the bench on that one and kind of shoehorned the whole abortion thing into a privacy argument for which it's like that's not what they were arguing, but all of a sudden it's like bam, from the highest court down, now we have national abortion. And it's like a lot of the states didn't want that. Some of the more conservative states, that's not what they were for. I think the tearing down of Roe v. Wade on a constitutional grounds and giving it back to the states for them to have what they want to do with it gives us more power and brings us more democracy in the United States. And it's like, if you want to live in a California where, you can literally like have a baby and then immediately take that baby and like drop it into the meat grinder because, whatever. And it's like, okay, I don't agree with that, so I'm never going to live in California because I don't agree with those policies, right? And I don't want them to ever have like a single tax dollar from me so that they can take it and give it to like Planned Parenthood and those types of places. But yeah, wrapping that all up with a bow, I think the tearing down of Roe v. Wade is a win for the Constitution, and I'm glad that they did.
I mean, anything being taken away from the government and being given to the states is what you should want, right? The whole point is to limit the government and not limit you, right? The whole abortion argument thing, Chris, you summarized it pretty well, but like I think this is about the only thing that I've ever heard Hillary Clinton say that I agree with. That it should be rare. I think that there are
safe, legal, and rare. That's where it started on
exactly.
the Clintons. Yeah.
Yep.
That used to be the Democratic national policy. It was safe, legal, and rare.
Right. I know that there are medical instances where that the life of the mother, things like that, and there are other things too. And I have some, experience with dealing with people that have gone through things like that. But I don't know. You should have the right to live with a place where that doesn't happen, like you said, and your tax dollars aren't going to support something like that. And having a federal law essentially saying that anybody can just go and use it as birth control is not right, and it's not moral, it's not ethical. I totally disagree with the ethical and the morality issues that people try to justify every single day. The women you see on social media being like, "Oh yeah, I'm a mother to 6, and they're all dead because I was able to go and have an abortion 6 times in a row." Like, you're just a piece of shit, but it's just me being angry about it. But
right.
anyway.
Yeah, well, it's tough for people too, and I promise I'm not going to turn this into a talk about the specific issue, but they can't have two thoughts in their head at the same time, right? Like I always tell people when I have this conversation, because people ask me about it, I have my personal stance on it is absolutely never, ever, for any reason, no exceptions, ever. Like, okay, life of the mother. Okay, well then we're gonna C-section that baby, and we're gonna see what's going on, and that's it, and that's what we're gonna do. Like that's my personal feeling on it. Like, and I won't waver. There's no exception. Rape or incest. Okay, tight. You know, those are index cases, and we could talk about why I personally feel about it. But that usually doesn't have a good place. You know what I mean? Like that's usually never whatever. So I'll look at people in the face.
Yeah, I like to point out to people too that it's like, okay, well, rape or incest, but why would you cover up one crime with murder?
Oh, you don't, and again, like not to go down the
crime with another, you know,
not to go down the rabbit hole. I'm trying not to. I'm hitting wave tops here.
Yeah.
But like that's how I feel personally. And now, how would I legislate? That's completely different. Like, how do I feel about Roe v. Wade? That falls in the legislative thing. That was just bad jurisprudence. It was just a bad decision. It's funny that you said you agree with Hillary Rodham Clinton, the devil incarnate. I agreed with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. RBG was very famously against Roe v. Wade. She's like, it's just bad case law. It's bad. Like we crafted a privacy argument out of whole cloth in the 14th Amendment, somehow shoehorned it into this thing where you have the right to have this procedure or have it not be denied to you. And then it opened up this whole other can of worms. And then, now we have to worry about, service members taking vacations to go kill kids on the government dime. Because that's how they're getting. That's how they're paying. It's against the Hyde Amendment. We had a whole, whatever. So like all that to say, like it's funny when people can't hold things in their head at like two at a time. Like a lot of these things, the Ninth Amendment, the Fifth, the Fourth. We look at a ton of these things, Roe v. Wade, and we could be like, listen, I feel personally about this one way, but really where we are, if I would, if we're talking legislation, I would feel a completely different way, and people cannot get through that, which makes me laugh. But the ninth is where you see that the most, because you start like really arguing through, oh, okay, well, what is valid? What isn't valid? Where do we have to talk about, hey, it might not, like, you can't legislate morality. Well, yes, you can. You can 100% legislate morality. We're looking at it in schools right now. They're suing to keep the 10 commandments out of the classroom so they have more wall space for their BLM flags and their trans flags, but now they're like, oh, well,
behavior. Like
it's
so stupid when people say that you can't legislate. It's like every law that you ever
totally
make compels behavior out of somebody, and it's all based on some type of moral guideline.
Like, I sure can.
The point.
That's why we have life in prison, everybody, because it compels behavior. Because I'm legislating. Murder's bad. Murder's bad for society. We legislate morality every single day. And the conservatives, you squishy fucking middle of the road rhinos, you little fucking pieces of fucking shit, you are the reason why we got there, because you're like, oh, I want to be left alone, I don't want to choose a side, I want to be like, shut the fuck up, you soft ass motherfuckers. The fact that people will sit there and go, oh, well, you can't legislate morality and I just want to be left alone and you do you and you do me. Okay, well, now your daughter's trans, congratulations. She transitioned to school 6 months prior. The teachers weren't obligated to tell you because you don't have parents' rights, and she got raped in the bathroom by a boy that was sharing the bathroom. So you tell me how it affects you for real now. You tell me how that's good for society. You tell me how I shouldn't be legislating morality for people that will not do it for themselves. Look at your depraved behavior. Look what it got you. You're telling me that we shouldn't be legislating morality. How's that been working for you, middle of the road conservatives? Do you feel left alone this Pride Month?
Stupid fucking argument, dude. It's like the malum prohibitum argument about whether something is okay morally or if it's okay because it's been legislated to be okay. Like this is an age-old fucking debate, dude. Like it's in Latin. That's how old it is. It's in fucking Latin.
That's I don't even want to keep talking about this because that's the comment. It's
a dead language. Dead language, dog.
Kudos to you, sir. I haven't laughed that hard since I was a little girl. What a fucking fantastic comment.
You trans?
Oh, absolutely not. No, that's fake. That's not a real thing. It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing.
But you know, joke about it. The problem is, it's like nowadays people don't have the freaking length of attention, like the attention span, to be able to hold like two thoughts in their head at the same time. They don't have the motivation to go out and everybody's like freaking Xanax down or like Adderalled up.
Dopamine addicted.
It's like they can't. Yeah, like addicted to doom scrolling their instas. Like you can't. You sit down and you try to like give them a deep and profound thought like that, and to be like, well, you can have a personal moral standard on one side, but a legal and pragmatic way of legislating on the other, and then it would allow us to have a society where morally, again, it's like John Adams said. He said the U.S. Constitution is written for a moral and an upright people, and is wholly inadequate to govern any other.
Yeah.
And it goes, I make this argument all the time, but it goes back to the idea of the founding fathers looked at liberty fundamentally different than the hedonistic, narcissistic society that we have today, which is just like, I want to do anything that I want to do. It's like I want to deny fundamental reality and change my gender. You can't do that. Like biology says no. I don't care if you get yourself surgically altered to look like something else. It doesn't change your DNA or who you are. I don't care how many drugs you take.
If I put a potato in the microwave and hit the pizza button, it comes out a potato. Still
100p, dude. And it's like, but at the same time, that's why when you go back, the founding fathers were trying to give us the liberty to do the things that we ought to do, that we know we ought to do. Not the freedom to just do anything we want, right? But yeah, I think we get the government we deserve in that one, because it's like, look at the class of people that we have that we continue.
Well, you said something that I'm surprised we actually haven't talked about in the course of this conversation. You were talking about doom scrolling. We're over here talking about ways the government's subverting everybody's rights. We haven't even talked about the whole TikTok thing.
Oh, it's like
how
big
that
tech
has
in
nothing
general.
to do with, right?
Yeah, the free fall of big tech in general. Yeah, it's just, well, I mean, it's like it's all of them, right? Like they censored your speech, and they censored your First Amendment rights. They promoted false information, and they stopped you from sharing your Second Amendment rights. They really sensitized you to a people of military instability where you're going to have to worry about your third, your fourth. Let's not even get into it. The NSA has your group chat. All right. If you said anything, the NSA has your group chat. They just don't have enough people to go through all the group chats that say stupid shit about being a boogaloo boy and going out and doing whatever. And they don't have enough people to focus on it. But 100% the NSA has your group chat. So folks like Ed Snowden, folks like Julian Assange, folks that like basically called bullshit on the government, you can see it by their reaction. Like the NSA has your shit. Comer 100% perjured himself in front of Congress when we're like, hey, does the NSA do wholesale surveillance on Americans, like bucket surveillance on Americans? And he was like, not to my knowledge, do they? Like whatever. No, that's what got Snowden in trouble. He dropped all the receipts. Yes, they do. They absolutely 100% do. Do you guys not know how Riverside works? You don't. That's adorable. Riverside is you're never gonna lose me. It's gonna record on my end, and then we'll be fine. I'll just sound like I'm talking really faster than normal. I'm speaking through a hose, and it'll all come out in the wash.
I know that's
talking about the NSA, dude. They're gonna get you.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. We're not gonna notice like all podcasters. When we started talking about the NSA, they dialed in. Oh well, you'll be able to. I went on a good rant.
You said the hot word.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But, 100%, like all of that, the Fifth Amendment, you're right for all of these, like they straight up took those all away from you. You can go all the way through the list, and they just colluded with it. The government used big tech to do all of these things. And they walked in like a fucking mobster would. They walk in there like, hey, big tech, we got this laptop. We think it's probably the Russians. If it was you, and you wanted to be in our good graces and everything, because we're the government. If you don't want like SEC violations, if you don't want the DOJ poking around your stuff, if you don't want us to harm your business, maybe you just do us a favor and you kill the story for us. Oh, and if anybody DMs it, we want a list of those people too. Oh, and here's some keywords that we want. Oh, and here's some messages we need to get out. And hey, 400 million really isn't much to use, Zuck. We actually helped you profit more than that. So we'll take that campaign donation too. So, I mean, when you just admit all of these things, when Jen Psaki, noted liar and peppermint patty looking ass, when she just like goes over she's a left-wing activist.
Hello, sir.
They're right. She like, that's all she is. And for her to lie like she did and to have, whatever, it's just indicative of the nonsense that we go through. But when you look at big tech and the way the government colluded with them, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And it's all of it. And it's one of those things where it's like, you can't look at the free speech, just at the big tech collusion over the last 4 years in the United States government, how closely they have worked hand in glove. and it only goes one way. It's perfectly obvious at this point. Nobody is being a conspiracy theorist to say the only people that get shadow banned are conservatives. The only people that don't get to do whatever they want are conservatives. There's not more liberal content because liberals suck at digital content. They cannot meme. They're terrible at it.
Because they are memes.
That's why.
Memes
and guess
can't
what?
meme.
Right. And they're a joke. Their entire administration is a joke. Their entire ideology, Marxism and cultural leftism and socialism, it's a fucking joke, and it eats itself immediately on a short timeline. So they're trying to elongate that by suppressing the will of the people, the silent majority, which is now becoming not so silent. And now, like, as you look back at all these things that we talk about, the question really is like, the question isn't, why is America losing trust in the institutions? The question is, why would you? Why would you trust? Knowing these things, why would you? It makes me question your judgment. If you're just like, oh yeah, no, I totally believe him. I got a young son right here, right? I only got to look after one person. I lie to this dude all the time. You think the government, who has to look over hundreds of millions of people, you think they're just 100% with you all the time? You don't believe any conspiracy theories? Come on.
The only thing that prevents me from believing in more conspiracy theories is the ineptitude of the government.
Right.
So there's a few of them out there.
Right. Yeah. Because you're like, no, because it would
for them,
it's too core. Exactly. Like, you're telling me that this many people kept a secret. George Carlin did great, where he's like, listen, you don't need a bunch of people in a back room for a conspiracy. When all of your interests align, when you can see the writing on the wall, you don't need to have a little meeting. You can just be like, okay, we're all doing this thing. You can see it play out. But yeah, working for the military, people, I always love when the conspiracy theories come out where they're like, oh, this whole base is going to mobilize, and we got this email and they kept it under wraps until today. No, the fuck they did not. Try to mobilize Fort Bragg in a day and tell me for months. Idiots would be doing. They'd just be in touch.
60% of the motor pool's broken down. I can tell
there'd be a line out Ranger Joe's door. There'd also be a line out Sharky's door if we're at Fort Bragg. What's up, Sharkies? Shout out to the businessman's lunch. Got them wangs and things. You know what I'm talking about? That yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. What up, girl? Walking in all double cheeked up on a Tuesday, clapping like a standing ovation at Sharky's for a businessman's lunch on a Wednesday afternoon. You might see some cadre there. Girls looking like centaurs.
She'll give you that hawk tool.
Jesus, centaur.
Stop it. God, I hate it so bad. It's everywhere.
Dude,
God, it's got a stranglehold on it.
It's actually killing the humor in that, man. It's over. It really is.
Well, you know what? Personally, I started doing this thing with like trends that get super trendy. So then there's entire shows I didn't watch, like Squid Game. People tell me how great Squid Game is all the time. I'm like, I never fucking saw it. You know why? Because you guys talked about it too much. So fuck you. I'm not watching it.
Tiger King. I never watched Tiger King because of that too.
The very first time, the very first time that I saw the Hawk 2, I was like, nope, I'm not. Nope, this is. I'd like, because I saw it for the first time, and then the next post, I was like, nope, this is it. This is already too popular. I'm out of here.
What was really funny is I actually saw a meme about it first before I ever heard
before you saw the original
video. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I know something bad's getting ready to happen.
Oh yeah. And she got my wife was like,
she got fired.
I know, my wife was like, she got fired. She told me this when we woke up. Like, she checked her phone in the morning. I was already up.
Also,
I was already back. I was playing with my son or something. Like, I laid back down in bed because they were snuggling. She's like, oh, I can't believe it. The Hawk 2 girl got fired. I was like, are you joking? It's the internet. Of course she got fired.
Of course she
did. And she's like, what? I was like,
something mildly sexual.
Have you not seen this story before? Like, she's a conservative white chick that dared say Hawk 2 is she's going to get fired.
Yeah,
of course.
Remember that Mother Effer ain't real chick?
Right.
She was like, she was Tiffany, last year.
Where did she go? Yeah, right. Where did she go? Thanks. You're here for a moment and then you flame out. But if you're sexy red twerking on a cop car, that's like, they're fine with that.
I think my favorite one that I've seen so far, though, is like the World War II soldier, and he's sitting down outside of his tent, writing a letter on top of his helmet. And he's like, dearest Meredith, it is now day 7 of the Hawk 2 memes, and there seems to be no end in sight.
I swear to God, it's so bad. It's just got a stranglehold on the internet. I can't get away from it. Everywhere I look is this girl just Hawk 2 spit on that thing. I'm like, listen, it's funny. The interview on the street thing, I don't know why it's a genre. I don't get it. I understand why it's fun. It does. It's a genre because it works. You're right. All right, boys.
Tonight during the Hawk 2 Awards of 2024.
Hate it.
All right.
Never hated it anymore.
Sliding into home safe, Amendment number 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to it by the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Interesting.
Like, listen, if there's some powers that are out there that aren't delegated to the United States by the Constitution, maybe the states don't have them, tight, those are yours. I have no idea how to interpret this thing. I don't know how to apply this thing in a real thing. I know that the 10th Amendment is a thing, and they thought it important enough to put it in there to say, hey, listen, there might be some rights that don't go to the United States and don't go to the states. Guess what, people? Those are your rights. But like, okay, I couldn't come up with an example of what that would be. And if you asked me to contrast it with the 9th, I'd be like, I mean, I know what enumerated rights are as far as it applies to the people versus the government of the United States at total, like the state, but I don't know how to do that. So
I can give you an example.
yes, hit me.
Yeah. So Prince versus the United States. So it was a case that happened after the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act of 1993, when the U.S. government was trying to establish a national database for background searches for people purchasing handguns. And in the interim, until they were able to establish a national database, they were trying to say that local sheriffs and other law enforcement entities had to conduct those background checks on people as a state representative for the federal government. And two sheriffs from two different states, I can't remember which two states they were at, but essentially they sued the U.S. government and said that it's illegal for you to mandate that local law enforcement has to carry out essentially a federally mandated thing that isn't already a law. And they won that court case. And it was under the 10th Amendment, but it was Prince versus the United States. And two sheriffs, not fucking Blue Falcons, basically said, fuck you to the American government and won. So.
Right.
Let's see, back when we were going through COVID, back when we were going through COVID, mask mandates and lockdowns, I was wondering why somebody wasn't taking this case up under the 10th Amendment to be like, this is not a power that is given to the United States government.
Yeah, there's no emergency power.
Or to municipal governments. But see, that's the trickery that they do. As soon as you declare something a public health emergency, declare a state of emergency, what does the government always do as soon as you do that? It broadens its power base to be like,
this is for your own good.
I don't have these powers before, but since it's a state of emergency powers, I can use them. And it's like, that's why you got to watch every little thing that goes through, because it's so
Hegelian dialectic.
The government never gives back power once it takes it.
And you know what? That's what pisses me off too. Is I saw some, from the comment section again, and we were talking about, 18 to 26 are going to be registered automatically, and the big comment here is like, oh well, you had to do it. You had to do it anyway. It's just like they're doing it automatically now. It's like before you had to do it, or you could face a fine, or sometimes it would foul a background check, blah 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 blah. I'd be like, motherfucker, how about I boil it down for you? When do you ever want the government to put you on a list, and then you have to try to get off of that list? Never. Fucking ever. Never. It applies to every single no list for anything ever. That's why people make the joke about, oh well, all of my guns fell they fell into a lake during a boating accident, all this other stuff. It is never good to be it is. Hey, if it's time to lose it, it's time to use it. So let's mucho take it easy. But
mucho take it easy.
Mucho take it easy. That's for our Hispanic listeners out there. But it's one of those things, man. Like, I forgot what we were talking about. I'm laughing at the whole fucking including of La Raza.
No, you're talking about how you don't want the government.
Oh, I'm sorry, to be on a list. But that's the whole point. Like it's a fucking truism that you don't need to explain anymore. You don't want to go on a list automatically, period. And females are going to have to register like males at 18 to 26. So they're going to have to go down and file their little card under threat of the gun as well. So that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, listen, it's not just go, oh, well, it's just automatic. No. It's the government putting you on a list automatically. And if you try to get off that list, you're going to have to convince them why. And then if you don't do what they want for that list, they are always behind the threat of a gun. They are always behind the threat of taking you to jail, charging you with a crime, taking your life, liberty, and happiness. And they are allowed to take your life. That is what this is. And I know it feels hyperbolic to put it like that, but unless you address all of these oversteps of these rights like that, then you will find yourself like Australians in a camp and officers coming to their door to talk to them about their memes. And if they've been more than 5 kilometers away from their house that day, go fuck yourself.
Fuck yourself.
But that's how we get to it, is this squishy bullshit in the middle of like, oh, I just want to be left alone. And oh, well, I mean, who cares if they're looking at your DMs? If you're not doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, wrong fucking answer, bro.
The fuck up.
Why on earth? Yeah. Why on earth do you want them to have more fucking power? And why are you making excuses for the stripping of your fucking rights?
What has the government done well up till now?
Right, we're human beings. We're supposed to be automatically doing things in our own self-interest. You do it every fucking day when you get up and you feed yourself. Why on earth would you just hand somebody over and give them more power to tell you to do what the fuck they want you to do? Did you vote for this? Did you say, yeah, it's okay that you're putting me on this list? Or is that more bureaucratic red tape bullshit that they're just telling you you're going to have to fucking put up with? And you're making excuses for it online by just saying, well, it's just one less thing I got to do. Well, we ain't got to worry about that no more. In your fucking Forrest Gump voice. Like, for real, dude. Like, I don't know, man. This shit gets me just fired up, dog.
It does. Well,
it really ought to, too.
Yeah.
What's that? What did you say, Chris?
I said it ought to. It ought to get you fired up, because it's like more people really should be angry.
They should be livid. And that's another thing about taking crazy pills and being an independent analyst. Or, we could come up. It didn't take us long to put this note together. We're like, how many? And we didn't even talk. Dude, we didn't scratch the surface of the amount of operations and other like Operation Northwoods was no kidding. The CIA went to JFK. We're like, we want to have a false flag that gets us into a war with Cuba in order to depose Castro. JFK was like, no, this is not a conspiracy theory. It did. Yeah. And he was killed for it. But where was George Bush Sr. on the day of that fateful shooting? He was the head of the CIA. That's an important question you should ask. You're going to have to go through a lot of stuff. He was in Dallas. That's the actual answer to that. But that Operation Northwoods is not fiction. It is not something that an author dreamed up. It's a verified thing that the government and the CIA had to formally acknowledge. They wanted to. So you're telling me the CIA Operation Northwoods is a thing. The Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag that got us into a war, Vietnam. The USS Liberty was a false flag conducted by Israel to get us into another war. You're telling me I can point to those four things, which the government 100% acknowledges as true facts now. I can point to those four things and go, look at this. Look at this. You're telling me that they just stopped after Vietnam, after the Iran-Contra mess, after all of these things, after flying cocaine into Mena, Arkansas on Air America that they made a fucking movie about with Tom Cruise and the Clinton regime in Mena, Arkansas? Are you fucking joking? These are all real things. MK Ultra is real. These false flags were real. And you're telling me today, you can look at everything going on around you and you can go, well, they're telling me the truth.
Remember when the U.S. government carpet bombed a black community and killed a bunch of people? Remember what they did to the Tuskegee fucking airmen?
The Tuskegee
experiments? Yeah.
How about when did we vote that the Air Force was allowed to target cluster munitions on a beach in Russia? How about that?
Oh,
that happened today. I don't remember
the first shots of World War III. Yeah.
And the ATCMS, the Air Force has to target those. The Ukrainians can't target them. They don't have the systems. So we did it. Are we the baddies? Yeah.
Kind of sounds
we
like
are.
it.
That's a war crime. That's what that is.
Hey, man, if there's World War III going on, you don't have to have an election, dude.
Oh, it makes me. All right. So I'm going to ask you guys something to wrap this up. So I think we laid a really good case out for why you shouldn't trust some of these institutions. Why you should look at them like a hawk. They're public institutions. You're a private citizen. You should behave as such. Stop. So I will ask. There's a couple pills. We know the blue pill and the red pill. There's also a black pill. The black pill is it's never getting better. Everything's always bad. The white pill is maybe it'll get better. You're still awake, but you're not super convinced that it's going to be cynical and terrible yet. And then there's my favorite, which is the clown pill, where everything is just totally fucked, but you can't help but laugh. I'm going to start with you, Chris. Black pill, white pill, clown pill.
Yeah, I'm just not. I'm too pragmatic to be white pilled. I feel like I bounce back and forth between like black pilled and clown pilled. Like some days, like I'll just be able to laugh about it. And those are the days. The black clown.
Are you allowed to say that? Like homie the clown? You're homie the clown pill.
Yeah.
Homie don't throwback, dude. Homie don't play that.
That's what the name of this episode is. We just found it. Homie don't play that. It's
part 1 and 2, dude.
Part 1 and 2. Homie don't play that part 1, and homie don't play that part 2.
Homie still don't play that.
Homie still don't play that. Homie don't play that, and homie still don't play that.
That's it, dude. That's fucking it. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron.
Oh shit. Shit.
The
But yeah,
black clown pill.
for me, man, it's hard to make sure that like
Sorry.
That's good. That's good.
it's hard to make sure or to like keep myself from getting like too depressed sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially for dudes like us that have like seen behind the curtain a little bit. And then it's like when you really know how deep the rock goes and you know like how much power you really are up against, sometimes it tends to be like, dude. But then again, I mean, we were, you know, a ragtag group of farmers and shop clerks and, you know, fishermen that broke away from the greatest country in the 19th century to become the greatest country in the 20th century. We've been down and out before, you know? And so it's like it's that cheesy speech that Gandalf gives Frodo, right? But he's like, you know, I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish I never had to deal with this, whatever. And he goes, yeah, but so do all who live to see such times. So that's not for them to decide. The only thing they have to decide is what to do with the time they're given.
Even the wise
and
cannot
so,
see
like,
all ends.
So this is us. And
What the fuck is a Gandalf?
This is the.
Is that like a movie or something?
Are you really?
Is this
you really not
kind
get the Lord of the Rings reference?
I have no idea. Like the Tolkien book?
Yes.
Oh my god!
Whoa.
I thought he was trolling me.
Me too,
He's
dude.
trolling, dude.
He took
No.
a clown pill, dude. Wait, for
All
real, you don't know who Gandalf is?
Of course I do. I'm fucking with you. I
Yeah,
wish it
thank
like
you.
I don't know.
I
I don't know if I
that's why I
believe
was
him.
just gonna
Dude,
roll,
this is
dude.
some
I was gonna roll
through it.
backpedaling, you know,
Nerds.
like
no, the Battle of Helm's Deep was great. I love the entire series.
Okay, there
I read
you
the
go.
book
He's
as a child.
quantifying himself.
I
Got
grew
you.
up. My
Okay.
grandfather was Irish. I had to read Tolkien growing up.
Nice.
Had to.
Okay. All right, you're
I
cool.
got. I just love
Good
fucking with
education.
nerds. Anytime somebody's like, I will purposely mess up like Star Wars, Star Trek, and Mork and Mindy, like
Right.
just you
That's
know,
good.
purpose like fucking Nanu
Remember that time
Nanu
Darth
and
Vader
Prosper.
Nanu,
Yeah,
dude.
fucking. I'm your father. Fucking. I could piss off 8 nerds at once. Like, oh hey, I'm
Yeah.
Harry Potter. I'm here to save Voldemort. Nerd, 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 nerd.
He's just dropping
That's
grenades
funny.
and walks out.
Dude,
of the
I
room,
know,
dude.
right?
I don't care. It's your fucking
Oh,
adult reference book. I don't give a shit. I watch people dress up in fucking uniforms and play a sport against each other and care about it. I don't give a fuck. I got my own stuff to worry about. Go play your Dungeons and Dragons with your Lord of the Rings, whatever.
I will.
All right.
No, I think I'm right there with Chris though, where I'm not white pilled by any means, but I think they hold me the clown pill for the most part because you got to laugh to keep from fucking just being depressed all the time. But I'm definitely more pessimistic about things because I just don't see enough people on the same level like us here and some of the other people that we associate with online. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith, but I do have faith in people that do put themselves online like you guys, and the fact that there seems to be a surplus would be the wrong word, increase in people that get online and have something to say about just how bad things are, and that's encouraging. I like seeing that, and there's people that you wouldn't expect getting online and saying stuff like that, which is even more encouraging because you're looking essentially at people who are transitioning and kind of waking up to just the bullshit, I suppose. But I am waiting for that, whatever that line is, to just get proactive. You made a video about it, Aaron, and it was probably had to do something to do with that episode on Drinking Bros with Dan talking about the number of hunters that aren't registered and in states, and just like how close those elections are and how the majority of those swing states would have been won if people with that can own guns would also own a voter's ID card and go fucking vote, and that there's more people that didn't vote that own a gun, which you can safely assume would vote conservative, that would have swung those states. Just plug that again, man. Get off your fucking ass. Go talk to your friends. Go register to vote. It don't take a lot of fucking effort to go do that. I live in California where my vote probably doesn't count anyway because it gets mailed to me and I have to mail it back to some faceless fucking person. But anyway, go fucking vote, dude. If you own a gun and you're pro 2A, you're probably gonna realize pretty soon here that it's not in your best interest to keep a Biden presidency around because it wants to get rid of your fucking guns and your ability to own that shit. So go fucking vote. Here's my black pill.
Yeah, and on top of that too, just if anybody's stuck with it this long, there's the whole like too big to rig argument, but then I hear a lot of people that are kind of like black pilled on like, well, they're just gonna cheat in the election and they're just gonna do what they did last time. And it's like, okay, but you got to understand, like if you're demoralized, right? Like no enemy is truly vanquished until he considers himself so. right?
Right.
And so it's like if you sit down, take your ball and go home, like you're just making it that much easier to defeat you, right? Like if you're going to complain about the problem, but you're not willing to like go and do something about it and go vote about it, then you are the problem. Like I'll
can't
go
win
that
the war
far
if
to
you
say
never step
you
on
are
the
problem.
battlefield, dude.
Right,
Just what
100%.
it's
So,
just what
but it's like,
happened. Did your balls drop off like hunters, farmers,
Right.
and 2A dudes? Like if you look at those three,
Seriously.
hunters, veterans, and then farmers. If you look at those
Mhm.
three, we needed 30,000. We needed 11,000 votes in Georgia just in 2022.
Right.
We needed less than that, or we needed a little slightly more than that in the presidential of 2020 to win that state. There's 300,000 unregistered people from that category. You're telling me that if not even a fourth of them from each one of those categories registers, we win every single election. We have conservatives in every single position from here to the presidency for as long as we want it, and they just don't go out there and vote. They don't talk to their friends about it. Like we've talked, you guys already hit on the voting is useless. Like, okay, well, we could talk about Bertrand Russell's teapot. Like I can't prove to you that there's not a teapot that's going around the sun. I can't prove to you that your fucking vote is going to matter and it's going to be the one that tips it, like literally your ballot. But I can tell you what, if you don't vote, it might hurt. If you do vote, maybe it doesn't do whatever. So guess what? That's worth it. Like you're telling me this country isn't worth 15% or 15 minutes of your time to go down and vote. Like I'm not going to hear that anymore. I'm not going to hear this nonsense about, it's rigged and I'm not going to do it. Like get out of here. We don't roll over and show our belly. The number one thing that I hear people say is like, I'm conservative. I just want to be left alone. All right, tight. Every 2 years, I need 1 day out of you. Maybe beforehand, maybe you find a couple other people, you get them to register, you talk to them about conservative
100%.
values, and you tell them about, hey, we want to make sure that we can continue these values going forward in the future. I need you 1 day every 2 years. One's going to be a presidential, the other one's going to be a Congress or a Senate race, but I need you to go down ballot vote. And in return for your 2 days every 4 years, you get to be left alone. How's being left alone feel right now? Hunters and veterans and farmers and people that love this country. How does that feel? How's turning around on Pride Month and having to see a dude's schlong in your daughter's face and the police won't arrest him because they'll get canceled for it? How's that feel? Does that feel like being left alone? These things that you see on TV, these things that you see in front of your children, does that feel like being left alone? Or is it time now? Because I think it's time now. And I'll be honest with you, I'm white pilled ever since I got hooked up with Vote for America. So it's vote4america.org. Man, I'm going to make it my sole fucking purpose to impose my will on this election cycle by doing all of these things. Nevada's a purple state. I swear to fucking God, I'm going to make Nevada red. From my local election to all the way up through the presidential election, I'm voting early. I'm voting mail-in ballot as soon as I possibly can. I'm getting all my friends to do so. I'll canvass this fucking neighborhood if that's what I got to do. I'm putting signs up in my front yard. I want people to come talk to me about it. I'll take them to go vote because I've fucking had it. And if you think I won't vote to save this country, you're crazy because I'll do a fucking lot of stuff. And I did for 22 years in a bunch of different places all around the world. I proved every day, hey, I'm willing to go to a very, very violent end for this country. So if you think I won't vote and you think I won't be vocal on my platforms about voting and shaming straight up other people into voting, you are fucking insane. Vote4america.org. You can find it through the War Room podcast. You can find it through the Ones Ready podcast. You can find it through my personal account. Vote4america.org. Go do something. Stop fucking talking about it.
Yelling at your TV doesn't count.
You're right. Yelling at me in the comment section doesn't count either. Shut the fuck up. Some of you argue with me in the comment section longer than it would take you to register to vote, find somebody else, and fix your own life, you sorry sack of shit. So go do it.
Amen. I think it's a good place to close out. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I can't put another exclamation point on that, dude.
Yeah, dude. You want to take us out, dude?
Nah, man, I love you guys. You guys are doing great things. You're going to fucking blow up. I've loved all the guests that you guys had on. You guys do a really great job of being analytical, fair and balanced, along with being, like, you call a spade, man. Like, I love the way you guys do it. I will always come back on this thing. You're invited to everything we got. I just appreciate me getting to talk to your listeners. I truly think, like, the small tribe that we're building between us, we got some of the smartest listeners of any group out there. Misfit Patriot, Common Sense Network. I'd like to include us over at One's Ready, Veteran Made Pod.
Absolutely.
Some of those other podcasts that are just absolutely awesome. That I hope I'm not missing anybody.
Adam Dorito, the great guys that we've recently hooked up
Turnbull
with.
CWO, those guys are
CWO.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
But it just feels good, man. That's why I'm more white pilled than I am anything else. Because, man, I'm not alone. I can reach out and I can ask for help. And I got friends that some I've met on the internet, some I've met in real life, but man, they're all, that's what it is today in today's environment. And I got a tribe, and that's important. So time to build the tribe, time to go forward, and time to save the world.
Hell
I
yeah,
think that's
man.
one of my favorite things
Just
about
excited
you,
to be a
dude,
part
is you're a walk the walk, not just talk the talk kind of person, dude.
Oh, we'll see. I'll tell you, the other thing is I'm transparent. I won't take down. If you look at my Instagram right now, I don't take down when I was wrong. I don't take down when I call political issues incorrectly. I don't take down when I said something incorrectly. I leave it up. I won't block you. I won't restrict you. You can come talk all the shit you want on my account. I've never done it. I don't give a shit. Go ahead. But it is what it is, man. Like if you don't stand for something, if you're not principled in something, then you'll fall for anything. And I don't like being around people like that. So, man, I don't care if it's your local humane society, but get passionate about something, get involved, and make your community better.
Amen. Oh yeah, dude. Well, yeah, dude. Honestly, you're one of our favorite people to have on here. You've been on here from the fucking beginning. You were like our second guest, I think, or first guest. I don't remember.
Let's
Definitely,
go.
basically a founding fucking member. You
Fucking
know,
plank owner in this bitch.
you are, dude.
Hell yeah.
Whenever we go public, make sure some insider trading info, get you going. You know, but no,
I'll just be like, hey, listen, I like the stock. I came with fire. I like the stock.
Yeah.
I like the stock.
Find
I
it on
like
the
the stock.
NASDAQ. Yeah. But no, thank you for coming on. If you're still listening, this is I Came with Fire podcast. Chris, go ahead and give yourself a shout out, bro, where we can find more of Chris at.
Absolutely. Common freaking sense, guys, over on X, I guess we're supposed to call it now, Twitter, Instagram. That's the channel that I run over there. Come hang out where you'll see we punch down quite a bit. And you'll see more of the stash, I guarantee it.
Hell yeah, man. But thank you guys for listening. If you're still listening to us, you guys have a good night. To you, the pair of you, and we'll get the fuck out of here.